Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen, getting ready for a Week 7 matchup this weekend between the Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. Eagles sitting at 4-2. Vikings coming off a bye week at 3-2. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Friday morning, brother?
Yeah, getting closer to Sunday. Exciting Thursday night football. You don't hear that very often. One of the things I heard.
Thursday games have been better this year, John.
Well, I tend to forget them as soon as they're over. That was pretty entertaining, but yeah. I did hear Kirk Herbstreit or might have been Al say, "We've had some great games." I'm like, well, I was just at a Thursday night game. It wasn't that great. So I didn't know what they were talking about, but maybe they have. I have to look back. But Eagles Giants, obviously, I'm talking about. From a Giants perspective, it was great, I guess. But yeah, entertaining game, aesthetic game, and why was it pretty? Because you had two drop back passers throwing the football. Not pretty from a defensive perspective. So everything's in the eye of the beholder, but I think most people like offense, and a couple 40-year-old guys chucking it around the lot because, hey, there's nobody younger better, so they keep playing.
Yep, no doubt. They were chucking that thing around the lot. John, I think it's fair to ask. I understand, but man, sometimes we just make it look so hard, John. You know, I mean, Jamar
don't have a pocket passer. Don't have a traditional pocket passer. I mean, either embrace
that really all it boils down to, I guess. I mean, just simple as that. I mean, there were some times where there was a stat that popped up last night, a ticker on how fast. 2 seconds. I mean, literally under 2 seconds on a couple throws. 2 seconds for Joe Flacco just gets that ball out. Everybody knew they were going to Jamar Chase. I mean, where's the predictability crowd? Everybody knew they were going to Jamar Chase.
20. I had to look it up. 23 targets. Jamar Chase.
23.
Yeah, for the predictability crowd. How many bubble screens did Rodgers throw? Because he's going up to the line of scrimmage, he's looking at the numbers, and he's saying, "All right, we have the advantage outside. Quick bubble screen." You know, so it's not just pocket pass. It's not the ability to throw the ball. And that dude's 41, and he threw the ball 70 yards to end the game. I'm like, boy, there's a shift in football, and we aren't seeing. And when these guys finally do age out, and there's a reason they continue to play till they're 40, and there's a few others in the league, but very few. Doesn't matter. Your goal as a coach is to win football games if you're Nick Sirianni. So it's not about being pretty. But I've been talking about the aesthetics of the game from the league standpoint, the beauty of the game. They better start paying attention to it.
Meaning what?
At some point, and there's no evidence of this because people keep watching no matter what direct they put out there, but at some point, people might wake up and say, "You know what? This ain't what I cracked it up to be." And I always say, "No, well, it's so popular." It is, and the younger people don't understand. So was at one time boxing was
right.
The most popular sport in America. People would sit around their radios to listen to the big fight updates from the Associated Press. In the era of Sugar, the Three Kings, so to speak, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Thomas Hearns, and obviously if you go back to Muhammad Ali, he's maybe the most famous person in the world at one point. And baseball obviously was America's pastime for the vast majority, of the 20th century. Before football overtook it. So, just because you're number one doesn't mean you're going to be number one forever. And part of the reason with baseball is not number one, the product.
Right. I wonder what's going to happen with it, John. I don't necessarily disagree, but it was a hell of a football game last night. Joey Flacco, 10 days with the Bengals, comes in, gets 23 targets, 16 catches for Jamar Chase. I think T. Higgins had 100 yards too. So both of those guys were catching the football like crazy. It was a great game last night. John, I do want to get ready for some Eagles Vikings. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button. In hour number 2 today, we are going to have Tommy Lawler. Looking forward to talking to Tommy. It's been a little bit. One of our great chat people reached out and said, "Hey, we haven't had Tommy Lawler on. Can you reach out to him?" I'm like, I love Tommy. We just forgot. Sometimes it slips the mind. So we'll have Tommy Lawler on in hour number 2 today. John, what's the latest, man? Yesterday you came in the morning and you surprised me. You surprised me yesterday, John. You're a consistent guy. You don't normally surprise me, John. You hit with the vibes talk yesterday. Well, how was the Thursday practice update from the Birds yesterday? You were down there again, back in the locker room once again. What'd you see yesterday, Thursday, down at practice?
Well, practice is practice this time of year. A little bit more on Thursday than Wednesday. They completely shut us out Wednesday. We got to watch a little bit more. You're not going to learn anything other than saw Landon Dickerson taking some combo blocks with Jordan Mailata, so that's a positive sign. Quinyon Mitchell was doing his normal workout with Adoree Jackson next to Christian Parker. And he was upgraded to a full participant, so that's a positive sign. Jalen Carter was downgraded from full to limited. Now, he already said on Wednesday that he was going to play, so yeah. I think they're just managing him through the week. Because I think Quinyon's the biggest one because of the opponent, because you're having, we talked about Chase, you're playing Jefferson, and not only Jefferson, but Jordan Addison is back, and Jalen Naylor, their third receiver's a playmaker. Adam Thielen, the one guy is back there who gave Cooper DeJean problems last year, I think. So they have a lot of talent at wide receiver. Not sure the quarterback's going to be able to get them the ball, but that to me is the biggest one for this particular week. And look, it's strange. He played 13 snaps. I'm talking about Quinyon against the Giants, and they sat him down with a hamstring. That's usually a bad sign. Maybe they were being cautious. Maybe it was the MetLife turf. Maybe they took it for granted they were going to beat the New York Giants. Nobody's going to say that. But it is a very strange sort of time frame for that particular injury. But if he's out there, he's presumably it's positive. You would hope they wouldn't be pushing it because that is an injury susceptible to aggravation. That would be my biggest concern. But I presume, you lean on the healthcare professionals, and I presume they're doing their job. So that's a positive sign that he'll likely be out there. Overall, yeah, I think they're going to have a good week. I've had that feeling since early. I think that was a wake-up call. Some of it's just natural. When you get embarrassed one week, you come back and play better the next. And they had a little bit of an extra time. I think the style matches up. I think the Vikings are very poor stopping the run. So I think a lot of things align. And then for a team struggling a little bit with the pass rush, you have a quarterback that holds on to the football. So that should help. And you have an offensive play caller who likes to call a lot of deep routes, a lot of long developing routes. So that gives you an opportunity to sack the quarterback. And if you sack the quarterback, they're terrible. There's only one team maybe worse on third and long situations than the Eagles, and it's the Vikings. So if you get them behind the sticks, you're getting them off the field in 3 and out. So I think it's a favorable matchup for the Eagles as well.
Yeah, we'll see how it all goes this weekend. I do have the Eagles winning the football game. There's still plenty of stuff to talk about, John. We'll get into some of the key matchups in the game. Good news on Quinyon and Carter, and we'll see if they end up fully playing in the game. I guess we'll get another injury report today. And
yeah, we'll get the status report today. So you have to rule out guys like Grant Calcaterra will be ruled out. Presumably, I have a hunch that Quignon's going to be listed as questionable, but we'll see. And everybody else, I think, should play. Landon, I don't know if he should play, but I think he will play.
Right.
So pretty healthy. For
Well, that's
week
good. I
7.
mean, we a lot of talk this week, John, about having to stop Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison with Ringo and Jackson. So we'll see if Quignon's set to go out there. It should be interesting stuff. John, I do want to start before we dive deep into the game. We got to talk about this. Trey Hendrickson talk is all over the place, John. I mean, and it seems to be more than just social media aggregation. Well, what are you seeing there? What do you know? Is there any merit to the Eagles could be a player for a guy like Trey Hendrickson? I mean, the only reason I'm thinking about it is second round pick. What are you going to get him for 10 games, maybe? You know, I don't know if it makes sense. I don't think they would extend that guy. Maybe they would. I think he's 30 or 31 years old. What do you know about the Trey Hendrickson rumors, Johnny Mac?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is just speculation and the fact that they need an edge rusher, and that's the best edge rusher that everybody thinks is available. I think you're seeing the same sort of mentality in San Francisco, but the difference is John Lynch has been honest about it. Not that Howie hasn't been honest, but he's been on record about it, is what I should say. Dallas is, presuming that maybe they should have kept Micah Parsons because they'd be in pretty good shape if they had a pass rush to go with their offense. So I think they're might be in the mix, but they don't have a history of making splashy moves. Indianapolis, because they think they're a Super Bowl contender. These are some of, part of the problem is you do have so much competition at the trade deadline for a player like that. So I would say most of it is speculation. I don't like the fit. I've said that from the start.
I don't love the fit. I mean, I guess he would give you an advantage in third and long.
Well, yeah, I mean that's he's just a good pass rusher,
right.
And
right.
the Eagles. But I think people forget. And I saw Nolan yesterday. He's coming back. It might not be till after the bye, but Nolan Smith is coming back. And I just don't like the fit. I just don't. I don't think. And I think it would be short term. And you say, yeah, second round pick. That doesn't seem like a Howie move to buy a guy for 10 games in the playoffs.
And he bought Robert Quinn for a 4th round pick. I know it's way different.
Yeah, that's a big difference. That is a big. But they won with this team. Premium, not the premium picks, which means 1, 2, 3,
right,
are big difference than day 3 picks. But even when they traded for Kelly Ringo on the draft and moved a future 3, like that was a big deal, and it hasn't worked out, obviously. And it second round pick is valuable in their minds. So now, are they going to get a player like Trey Hendrickson in the second round? Probably not. But again, they're not going to have Trey Hendrickson long term.
Yeah,
it's like a baseball. You're buying somebody to make a run. I don't know.
Do the Eagles have multiple second round picks next year, or just one? I know they have a bunch of picks, but I don't know how many seconds they have.
I haven't been keeping up. I'd have to look it up, but they have a ton of picks. But yeah, they've been making so many trades, all with their day 3 picks. Again, they're willing to give up day 3 picks, even for somebody like Tank Bixby. Obviously,
they have 3 threes. They do not have 2 twos. So they have 1, 1, 1, 2, and 3 threes, according to the latest article from Jimmy Kempski on Philly Voice.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to make a move. One of the guys we spoke about way back, Ebiketie from Atlanta. I think it's more like in that range.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe Maybe if you're looking for splasher, maybe one of the two Dolphins edge rushers, because Vic has a history with them, and they
Chubb
could
or
pick it up.
Phillip.
Yeah, and they could kick it up. They could pick it up faster. So maybe that makes some sense. Just from a young talent perspective, Jermaine Johnson, if the Jets want to get rid of him, I don't. Maybe that would be an avenue. But I don't think the Eagles would want to give up a second round pick. I think that's what I saw, and that now that you looked into it, they would probably try to push 2/3 or something like that. And I don't see the fit. I'd be like, Trey Hendrickson dropping in the flat. Now Vic shouldn't do that, but and one of the few things I'll criticize Vic about is, if you got a guy similar to Bryce Hupp last year, and Trey Hendrickson's much better than Bryce Hupp, but you see Bryce in San Francisco doing some nice things. They don't ask him to do what he can't do. That's part of it. So he would definitely be the best pass rusher on the team by a wide margin. But I do think it's out of sight, out of mind, man. When you're on injured reserve, it's like everybody forgets you exist. Nolan Smith is coming back.
Yeah, but even with Nolan Smith, this is not a good enough edge room. I mean, John,
I agree with that. I agree.
Before we acquired Zadarius, though, we said the same thing. Now Zadarius is back gone. You know what I mean? Like, we're back in the same spot.
I agree with that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not where you have to be desperate. That's off-season work. Like, that's an off-season problem. Not oh, shit. And by the way, they're still in first place. And by the way, if they win this game, which I think they will, everything will be back and people will calm down. Not everything is that urgent. I don't think buying somebody from 10 games is the Philadelphia Eagles' idea of good football, good winning football. But we'll see. Maybe they're desperate. They certainly act like it. After the first loss, it was like a catastrophe, like a loss in the NFL. It's like a catastrophe.
Yeah.
So, maybe they've amped up their expectations enough to veer off their normal course, but I don't think this makes sense from the way they normally do business, is how I'll describe it.
I agree. I don't think they're going to make the move there, but we'll see what they end up doing. If it does come to fruition, obviously the team is looking to make a move, or at least expected to be in the conversation. There was credible reports that the Eagles were in the conversation. Doesn't mean they'll make the move.
Well, like all about everybody.
That's what I mean. They're in every conversation. They're gauging the market as they always are. So not sure how much stock to put in it or not. We will keep you posted on any of the updates that come there. So injury report looks pretty good for the game this weekend. And then you got that talk there. We'll see how the matchups go this weekend. John, what do you think the key matchups are this weekend? I was watching an NFL.com preview video of the game, and
apologies.
Isaiah Rodgers is playing really good, man. Isaiah Rodgers, I mean, he is playing really good football. It's funny that we're going to talk about the matchups in the game, and one of the key matchups in this game is obviously going up against Isaiah Rodgers. He's playing like one of their best cornerbacks right now. So I don't know what you said there when you chuckled. If you want to repeat it,
I said apologies. You said you looked at a NFL.com preview of the game.
Oh yeah, it was not good. I will say this though, Jalen Carter has a reputation. The guy in the NFL.com video called him Hawk Tua Carter. I'm like, whoa!
Oh my life. Still.
Yeah, on NFL.com too. It's not like some fan.
Well, there's a perfect example. I'm glad you said that. There's a perfect example why I don't advocate watching that stuff. No, Isaiah's playing well. And it's it's a sore spot with this organization a little bit at least. I think they expected a little bit of I don't know if loyalty is the right word, but he was suspended for a year. Nobody would touch him, and the Eagles said, "Yeah, we'll buy." And they're patting themselves on the back because they're buying low, and they knew that. And remember, from Isaiah's perspective, he lost a year of earnings. It's a very short term, so you're going to want to make the most money you potentially can. And their offer was lower than Minnesota's. I think the disconnect is they thought they'd have an opportunity to match. I think now, in hindsight, they believe they would have matched. Who knows if they would have? But I think part of that is built in with the hindsight of, Kaylee Ringo and Adoree Jackson aren't playing well. Like they weren't guaranteeing him a starting job. I know that, Isaiah Rodgers. And part of the reason why is they had high hopes for Kaylee Ringo. So if he goes on the open market and he's got a team who says, "You're our guy, you're our starter," and the Eagles say, "You're going to get first opportunity, but we really like this guy." In hindsight says, well, Isaiah would have blown him out in training camp, probably. But again, you want that status and you want that guarantee you're going to be a starter, and he got it out there. So a wise man told me football's a zero-sum business, and sometimes you get guys, sometimes you don't get guys.
Yeah, no doubt. It is what it is. Johnny Mac, coming into this game, offense has been obviously a big conversation. Defense as well, coming off a performance where they gave up 34 to Jackson Dart, Cam Skataboo, and Malik Neighbors list the New York Football Giants. But Eagles offense this week, John, what's the expectation for them to get going? They've talked like there's going to be some sort of change. I don't anticipate there's going to be a drastic change other than hopefully they'll execute better what they want to do, and the offensive line can create some holes and they can start to run the football, because that's obviously the best way for this football team to win. And that offensive line has been struggling this year so far. Not struggling, but struggling to the degree that we've gotten used to them playing at. They're not playing to that level. What is the expectation or the game plan in your eyes for the offense this week coming in versus the Vikings?
Yeah, I think they're gonna try to get the running game on track.
Yeah.
I think that's the goal. I think they will do it. And I think most people, especially if they're the people who watched last night, let's throw the ball.
Well, that's not our game. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the grips I'm coming to. I'm coming to. It is what it is.
But I mean, if the running game gets going, then you become more effective throwing the ball as well. So it should help both areas. But a lot of talk about predictability. Again, I think Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, Kevin Patullo explained it. Everybody's predictable on 3rd and 13. What pretend you're playing the Atlanta Falcons. What are they going to do on 3rd and 13? They're gonna either try to pick up the first down, or they're going to try to give up and punt and give a draw to Bijan.
Again, we talked about last night's game. Every play was predictable last night. I mean, they executed the play, So I'm not really buying into too much of the predictability. I get it's a thing. I mean, it still does matter to some extent, but it's more about obviously getting, executing and doing what you have to do to be successful. Looking at that game last night, and again, we're a completely different style of offense. We're not going to compare the two. But I do think the one thing that's fair to look at and be like, what the heck? Joe Flacco's been there for 10 days, John. Like, we're in week 6 of year 4 with AJ and Jalen and Devontae, and we're still talking about getting on the same page. I mean, Joe Flacco's throwing out routes to the sideline on time, on
Amazing,
target.
isn't it?
I mean, you're just like, dude, 10 days they've been together. He's played with you
By the way,
for 10
you know,
days.
those are the anticipatory touch throws that do not exist very much in the NFL now. You know, a couple times they showed those outs with Chase's. The ball is out before Chase makes his break.
Yeah.
Those throws are not. Those used to be commonplace. Those used to be a staple in every NFL offense. They are not any longer. It's not like the Eagles are alone. You know, Joe's played, I don't know, 200 NFL games.
I get it, but he's only there 10 days. And again, I understand the anticipation, and that's his skill set. That's how he's in the league so long. I think he's, 18 years in the league, something like that, 40-something years old. But it just amazes me how on the same page they were. And we're like, every week we have the conversation. Even the receivers, it's not even like an us thing. The receivers stand at the locker room. Oh, we're trying to get on the same page. We're trying to get on the same page. How much more time do you need to get on the same page? I get it if you don't have those anticipatory throws or some of those are your different style of offense. I mean, we are in year 4. You have gone to 2 Super Bowls together. I mean, how much time do we need to get on the same page, John?
Well, I think the same page talk is about more of the shift. If we want to use last night, more of the Rodgers stuff. Like, all right, you know, extension of the running game. The numbers say this, do this. I think that's what they mean. Not the, you know, that's a staple throw. Like for Joe Flacco, that's a staple throw. He can do it in his sleep. He can do it as long as you know how to run the route. You know, all these routes are very structured from the standpoint of landmarks. You as the receiver, you have to cut at a certain landmark. And it has to be the right depth and the right time, and then the ball is going to be there. If you have a quarterback who can deliver the football like Joe can. So that's not really, there's some chemistry to it, you know, and some feel. And, you know, Joe probably goes in and says, well, I got 2 pretty good receivers, even though he hasn't played with them.
I'm just going to trust them and throw
So,
them.
yeah, he's just, you know, he's going to trust them and not look goofy doing it. But that to me, that's not the same page talk. The same page talk is about, you know, adjustments at the line of scrimmage, changing plays, hands. You saw Rodgers with all his hand signals. Sometimes he's faking it, sometimes he's not, to throw off the defense. I think that's what they're talking about, being on the same page. The anticipatory stuff is just not it's not coming. I mean, yeah, it's not coming.
Not coming, but I mean, look, I'm not trying for it to come. I understand. I do think the talk though of them, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it baffles my mind how they've been together this long and they still look, you know, like they struggle so much at those simple things. But it is what it is. Obviously, moving forward, Saquon Barkley, John, though, this defense, this Vikings defense, great against the pass, not so great against the run. We talked about the interior of that defensive line. But our offensive line's been struggling, John. It's the bread and butter of this football team, and they have not been playing as good as really we need them to play if we're going to play this style of football, as you've pointed out. They need to have a big game this week. What do you like? How do you like that matchup, Eagles O-line versus that Vikings D-line?
Yeah, I like it. Undersized defensive front, bunch of pass rushers, no run defenders, no run support people. They don't have a Jordan Davis. They used to have a Jordan Davis. They traded him away to make room for more pass rushers and more guys who can get up after the quarterback. The linebackers are weak behind Blake Cashman, who's coming back but hasn't played for a month. So they're not good at run stopping, and they've already been gashed by a number of backs this year, including Kenny Gainwell. So the Eagles should be able to get it going, at least to a level where it will be effective enough to where then they can throw the football, because they'll be in second and manageable, third manageable situations. And I think if you're effective running the football, everything else falls into place. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to get it going.
Do you think they'll get, work some more of the Jalen Hurts called runs into the offense here to try and get him going as well a little bit?
Probably a little bit, because again, I think it'll be there, and it's time to turn on the switch. I think from their perspective, and that's what a bad loss does, and that's why sometimes it's just natural. When you have a poor game and you just focus a little bit more, bear it down, and play better. I think you're gonna it'll come down to that basically. And yeah, I think he'll run the football. You have to see what Flores is doing. I assume we'll have a spy, but that might have been Van Ginkel's role, but I will see. That's a big one to keep an eye on because they're a different team when he's out there. But I don't think he's going to play. That's my early indication. So I think it's styles make fights. I think it's a good matchup for the Eagles.
What about the other side of it, though, John? I mean, if you're the Vikings coming into this game, where do you think they have an advantage, either offensively or defensively in this game?
Well, they definitely have advantage with their receiving core. But, that's where the Eagles have to make sure that they speed up Carson Wentz and get him off his spots and get them behind the sticks because they tend to be very greedy, I would call them, like a lot of long developing routes, like I said, and probably should dump it off a little bit more, but they're always going for the deep shot and the explosive play. So you're probably going to see a handful of those where you're tearing your hair out if you have hair, unlike me, but they're going to get gashed by Jefferson and Addison at times. Probably a couple blown coverages are in there. So I think there's going to be some points in this game. But ultimately, when it gets to the fourth quarter, I think you'll see a lot like last year's Eagles, where even if it's a close game, Minnesota will have a very, very difficult time stopping the running game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. If the Eagles can get the run game going, I think it'll be a good week, and the Eagles will get back in the win column this week. We will see if they're able to do that. John, you just brought up the Vikings receivers and some of them. They do have a lot of good playmakers right now. Wentz is still Wentz, so he's a little streaky. He has the propensity to hold on to the football if the reads aren't there. But it's kind of the in-between there, John. Like, he's either really quick with the ball, which is why he's number one in next-gen stats and releasing, or he holds on to it and is going to take a bunch of sacks. So, the Eagles, that front of the Eagles D-line is going to have to create some pressure and try and throw him off his spot. And then if the corners can hold, I think you should be able to have a good defensive day. But it also does exist where, he could be getting that thing out quick. I don't know, looking a little like Joey Flacco last night. And the defense will be struggling, John. But I do think the Eagles will be able to manage that well.
Yeah, you never know. With, Jefferson out there, you're susceptible to get a big
the problem is you need the pressure to come from the interior, because I don't think we can expect Uche and Ojulari or really even Jalix to get all that much pressure.
Yeah, I never like when your best part of your team is the receivers. I wouldn't like it. I like it. It's
a luxury.
It's a luxury for it's awesome to have, but you need the other stuff before you can take advantage.
How many of their O linemen are playing? Because I know they were missing like 4 last week.
Yeah, a bunch of them are coming back. I think
they're coming off a bye week here.
Yeah, Donovan Jackson's definitely coming back. He's their left guard. He's a rookie, but he's a pretty good rookie. Darisaw had to leave, but he's healthy. They're just managing him because he's coming off a torn ACL late in the season last year, but he's playing really well. So he'll play. The center's out. He's on injured reserve. Their center's really good, Ryan Kelly, but he's always hurt. He's an Alabama guy. He's really good, but he's always hurt. He's hurt again. So he's out. Will Fries is the right guard. He's playing. Brian O'Neill is the right tackle. Now he's been out. He's been limited this week, so he's the key one. If he's back, that's a big deal because he's a big time tackle. So they should be in relatively good shape, except with the center. And I think Michael Juergens was the backup. He was out as well with a hamstring. I think he's going to be back. But I think they like Blake Brandell played center. He's been a guard, a tackle, and he was forced to play center before the bye against Cleveland, and he played well. So I think they realized, oh shit, he's better than Juergens. So I think he's going to be the center, but both of them aren't Ryan Kelly. So that's where you have to take advantage of it.
Yeah. John, why do you think the Eagles are going to get the running game going? I mean, I'm just playing the opposite side of it here. They haven't been able to get the running game going in any game. So what gives you the confidence?
Number one, Javon Hargrave. If you knew him here, great dude.
Does Dallas have a good run defense? More on Dallas.
No, and I think the Eagles did a decent job of with that. It was more the quarterback runs, but still they count. Now I know people want to get Saquon going, and I think he will get going in this game, but they don't have all their rotational defensive linemen, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Jalen Redmond, Levi Drake Rodriguez, and kid from Georgia that the Eagles liked in the draft, who is injured, and I don't know if he's going to play, but all of them are pass rushers first more than run. They don't have one. Like we always talk about the Eagles and Jordan Davis, he should be this, he should be that. Don't dismiss his ability to stop the run. Most teams have one of those guys at least. And they had one, Harrison Phillips, and they traded him to make room for the young guys, the Redmond and Rodriguez and Ingram Dawkins. That's who I was trying to figure out. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. They felt they had all this good young talent, and they're good players. They are good players. Jalen Redmond, keep an eye on him. He's a good player. He's going to flash.
Yeah.
But, pass rush, penetration, not against the run. They're going to get blown off the ball. And they got blown off the ball by Cleveland. They got blown off the ball by Atlanta. They got blown off the ball by Pittsburgh, which hasn't been running the ball effectively at all this year. Now, they were pretty good last night again. Yeah. But that was their only good running game. They get blown off the ball. Now, also part of it is Cashman was out. Cashman played the first game, which they won, and they were pretty good against the run. And then he was out because he hurt his hamstring chasing Caleb Williams, and he was out. They had to put him on injured reserve. So he's missed his 4 games, and he's coming back. So that changes things a little bit, but you're putting a lot on Blake Cashman's plate to say, oh, go stop the run all by yourself because they're not good.
I get it. I get they're not that good, but at the end of the day, they're still an NFL defensive line, and we haven't been able to run the ball versus anybody. I mean, Giants, Broncos, Bucks, Rams.
Well, you got a real problem. If Kenny Gainwell can do it and Saquon can't, you got a real problem.
Well, I mean, you're seeing I think the offensive line this year has been fine in pass blocking. I think run blocking is where they've struggled. They haven't quite got the push at the line of scrimmage. I was watching Brian Baldinger do some breakdowns of it the other day, and it's just like they're just not moving the line of scrimmage like they were a year ago. Yeah, now, maybe they do this game.
Baldy's taking shots at the Eagles. He's got to be upset, man. Baldy's upset at this team.
Well, I think the expectations for this team are high, and they're not living up to them at all. And anybody who's a realist is talking about it, including Baldy.
Yeah, I don't think calling Jalen Carter. What was the adjective he used?
Oh, I don't know I know he was debating somebody on WIP about Carter, but
Yeah, he said something outrageous. I have to look it up.
I like
Yeah,
Baldy. I think he keeps. I think
I
Baldy
like Baldy too, but
keeps it
sometimes he
real.
goes over the top. It's like, um, awful is the term he used. He's been awful. Uh, he hasn't made one play, hasn't shown any violence out there. Doesn't look like he's in a great shape. That is a legitimate criticism, which everybody's talked about, including Jalen.
Yeah.
He was an ascending player, and we thought he'd be a dominant player. And this is a direct quote, by the way. But he doesn't look anything like that right now. I don't know what's going on there, but it's not been the same player. Now, I agree with that last statement. Awful? No fucking way. He hasn't made one play? No fucking way.
All right, so it's a little far, but I think again it's slanted because of all of the expectation on that player.
Expectations,
Right.
yeah.
I mean,
It's very slanted
we
because of
talk
the
about Carter
expectation.
like he's going to be the best defensive tackle in football. Now people come into seasons and they expect that type of play. I think he's just been an okay defensive tackle. He's been a solid DT this year.
Well,
He hasn't
I would
been.
argue he hasn't lived up to what people outsiders expected. I agree with that
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
I
But
don't think he's wrong on the O line. I mean, shit, he might be wrong on Carter a little bit. I don't think he's been wrong on the O line.
coming out of the New York Giants game specifically to say that just the fact that he wasn't there,
Yeah,
and
right.
you saw what happened when he wasn't there, I mean, should talk you off that ledge. But to the offensive line perspective, look, I mean, individually, Lane has played well. I think Baldy would admit that. Jordan has played well. I think Baldy
When
would.
Lane's out there, he's still Lane. I mean, it's almost incredible how good Lane continues to play.
Tyler, I think, has been better than anybody expected. And so you're talking about two guys. You're talking about Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens, who have not played up to their reputations, and both injury related or at least worn down, physically related. So I think that's fair if you look at the offensive line. But again, contextually, and Baldy looks at all teams, and I think he would admit if you knocked him down and locked him down, and I mean, watch some of these other freaking offensive lines.
Well, there might be again, John. It might be a little bit of the expectation.
Yeah, the expectations of you just came off seeing one of the best offensive lines ever. So, if that's your grading scale, yeah, it's disappointing.
Well, let's just use this year then as the grading scale. They haven't really been great in the running game, right?
Well, the running game
is it
hasn't been
more on
great.
O-line or is it more on Saquon in your eyes? That why they've been because I don't think Saquon looks like he lost a step. Now, the evidence would tell me I'm wrong if you only look at the statistics. If you watch the game, it does look like he's getting hit more behind the line of scrimmage this year. I think it was like 37% of the snaps, 37% of the running plays. He's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. It's not the same right now. So you could also put, to play devil's advocate, I could say that you're saying something that hasn't been proven to be true yet this year, that they're going to have a good game running or a good offensive line performance.
Well, yeah, I think that's why, they have to do it. But it's always that's where the let's face it, in our media environment, calling somebody awful is going to gain traction versus, talking people off the ledge, and bringing in the context. So when you say who's more to blame, and it gets boring, but it's everybody. It's the offensive line. It's Saquon. It's situations. It's getting behind the sticks. It's how the opposition is playing. They were blitzing more, especially early in the season, with the attempt on. And I've said it pretty consistently. I think the plan was to not necessarily impact Saquon. It was to impact Jalen Hurts and keep him in the pocket. And along the way, you're creating penetration, which helped you stop the run. I think that was the plan early. Ironically, the Eagles have handled the blitz and from a passing perspective well, and now they're struggling with simulated pressure and guys dropping into coverage. But they've, and then there's little things like if you boil it down to who's been the Eagles' best offensive lineman, it's again Jordan Mailata for the second straight season, but he hasn't played as well. And part of the reason he hasn't played as well is because Landon hasn't played as well.
Right.
And Landon's been out, so he's got to do more to protect Brett Toth. It's a very chemistry-laden group. And then Cam hasn't played as well, which is affecting left guard and right guard. And that's where I think Tyler has actually been much better than I expected. If you're talking about people who've exceeded my personal expectations, he's at the top of the list. And then Lane is Lane. But I will say in the Giants game, everybody pretty much played poor. Lane and Jordan played poorly in the Giants game. I mean, a lot of people played poorly in that game. So that's rare, but I don't expect that to continue on a daily basis. And everybody, it doesn't matter how good you are. Everybody's going to have bad games in this league. Everybody.
Well, the Eagles offense has had a bad 6 games.
They've had a couple of good halves. So I wouldn't say
bad. Good half versus the Rams. Good half versus the Bucs. They had a decent half versus the Broncos.
They played mostly poor football. I think that's fair.
It's been very inconsistent. That's better to say because there have been halves where it's looked all right.
Oh, it's tremendous.
Somebody last night.
I've said it also pretty consistently. It's strange that they have so many 3 and outs, but when they get that first down, they're so efficient. It's weird. I've used that term. Normally, when you have a bad offense, you have a bad offense. When they start to get rolling a little bit, it looks like a really good offense,
right.
But it's been very, very short windows and obviously not the kind of windows you need. And then you look at the red zone. Like, how are you arguably the worst offense in football, but you're the best offense in football when you get in the red zone?
Right.
How weird is that?
It is because it's tighter. A lot of people say it's harder down. Obviously, it's harder down in the red zone. Jalen Hurts seems to thrive in the red zone more than most. So,
well, he's a big part of it because he's so difficult, not only to tush push, but he's so difficult to deal with
the legs, right?
Yeah. So they have a big advantage in the red zone. So it doesn't surprise me that they're good in the red zone. Surprised me how good they've been in the red zone. It's like 87 something percent.
Yeah, it's still first in the NFL.
Yeah, it surprises me how good, but it doesn't surprise me they're good. It has surprised me how bad they are on offense. But when I constantly say nothing's changed really from the passing perspective, all the changes come from the running perspective. They don't have the crutch of the great running game to rely on. And this is really the first time in the Nick Sirianni era, dating back to the 2-5 start as a rookie head coach. And then when they shifted to, all right, we're going to run the ball, they've always had a top tier running game, whether it's Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift. Then they took off with Saquon Barkley to another level, but they've always had a top 5 running game. They don't have that right now. And it's baffling. But nobody's talking to Jeff Stoutland. Hey, you're not creative enough in developing the run plays because it's silly, but they just have to. And again, it's that word that people hate because they want he stinks or this guy stinks or this guy stinks. I don't know. People like that. But I would say when you have somebody, and I'm not picking up Baldy, but you have so many of these guys who tell you a great player stinks because they have a bad game, and then 3 weeks later they're telling you how good he is, and I'm like, what does that not connect with you guys? I mean, they're overstating the lows and probably overstating the highs as well, to be honest.
Well, John, there were some clips floating around yesterday, and I know people don't like this guy in Philadelphia, but I always love how Philadelphia, if they don't like what somebody says, then they say that they don't know anything about the game and all of their opinions are mute and don't matter. And I don't view it like that at all. You're not going to agree with everybody all the time. Chris Sims called it the most disappointing unit in pro football, the Eagles offense this year. And he also had a comment that kind of floated around Eagle land yesterday of they're not changing the offense because the quarterback won't allow them to, was I think the word he used. It was an interesting comment, but it is something to talk. It is still something to consider and look at with this offense, because if they don't figure out this run game, John, I mean, come on, this is not good enough. It's not good enough. Anybody who says it is just lying to themselves. I mean, I had one guy tweet me last night, "Are you listening to John? He's been telling you how good the passing game is." I'm like, John McMullen? Wait, are you talking about John McMullen, the guy that I do the show with every single day? I don't think that's what John is telling me every day.
I think, I think it's the same as last year, but that's not good.
Yeah, shitty. That's what it is.
You have moments where you go, oh, that's pretty nice and that's clicking, and but it's not consistent, not nearly as consistent enough to be where they want to be. But as far as what did Chris say? Holden, they won't allow him to change it.
I can get the exact quote. Somebody tweeted it up.
I don't. And Chris is another guy. He should know better. He's played in the league. I mean, what do you mean not allow them?
He said. So I'm not watching the clip, but it's playing. And this guy tweeted out, the Eagles don't make changes to the offense because Jalen won't stand for it.
Well, I think
I know what Chris said. Just paraphrasing now.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I think they don't make changes because they're trying to accentuate what he does well. And you've seen that over 4 different coordinators now. And it's almost like you're beating people over the head with it, and they don't recognize it because they see the difference in success rate. Well, you go to the Super Bowl with Shane. Yeah, but disappointing year with Brian. You go to the Super Bowl with Kellen and win it, and you have a disappointing year so far from an offensive perspective with Kevin. So they don't see that the skeleton, the foundation is the exact same thing. And the difference between the results is the execution inside that skeleton of an offense, which, there's been some involvement. And, Kelsey retiring gave Jalen more autonomy. And he's gotten better. He's gotten better at the blitz. I say, I give Jalen tons of credit. He's gotten much better at the blitz. And now they're struggling with situational pressure, simulated pressure.
Which real quick, that word's been used a lot, just for the audience. I mean, explain what that means.
Well, you're going to see a lot of it.
Showing pressure at the line, dropping back,
drop out. Yeah. And you're going to see a boatload of it this week. Yeah. You're going to see 7 guys on the line. And the whole idea, Floor's whole thing is, all right, who's coming, who's dropping? And a lot of it is a guessing game. You do as much film work as possible and try to look at their trends, but a lot of it is just guessing, and at one time, like, this is where Van Ginkel becomes such a problem, because he might be coming and he's one of the best pass rushers in football, and he might be dropping and he's like a big, giant, long guy with ball skills. I called Jihad Campbell praying mantis. That's what he is, but he's got ball skills and he knows what he's doing, and football IQ and savvy and everything. And if Vic had his druthers, he'd be here. But I don't think he's going to play. But you'll see it with Minnesota more than anybody else. They will constantly have 7 people at the line of scrimmage, and some will be coming and some will be dropping, and it's almost like pick your poison and hope you choose right.
Yeah. It is interesting. We'll see how this game goes this weekend. Eagles need to get back on track, John. They've dropped 2 straight. I know it's not a must win, but you don't want the bottom to fall out from under this thing. This Eagles team, John, they live on the extremes. 23, they start 10-1, and then they go 1-6. Last year, they start 2-2, and it looks ugly, and then they go like 16-1 and win a Super Bowl. They seem to live in the extremes, John. If they lose 3 straight, I think it could. You don't want this thing to fall out from under you. So the Eagles are going to have to win this week. I think as close to a not must-win game as you can have. Let's go to some super chats here this morning. Appreciate everybody for being here. Hit that like button. I'm also posting the show up on Facebook. So thanks to any of our Facebook watchers. We normally don't stream live to Facebook. We post after, but I appreciate anybody watching from over there. Andrew Dirk checking in. What's up, Andrew? Coop at cornerback 2, middle linebacker help for Ringo in the slot.
Ringo in the slot? No, that ain't happening.
No, he's not a slot player.
No.
That's more likely he'd be a safety, wouldn't it, if they were to move him?
Yeah, I don't think he's got the. I think people just look at the physical ability and project him all these ways. You to play inside specifically, you need a really, especially in Vic's defense, a really high football IQ, and you need to be really disciplined and really on your P's and Q's, and that's just not the strength of Kelly's game right now. And to a safety and nickel are sometimes in mirrored positions. So, a lot of people have talked to Makuba. Can you move all these moving parts? Hey, you don't want all these moving parts. Interesting thing in practice, I should mention, Brandon Johnson, who was on the practice squad, and is a nickel, pretty much a natural slot player, was working with Quignon and Adoree in a session where the special teams is working on a side field. Now, every Thursday, Quignon, it used to be last year, it would be Slay. This year it's Adoree, because they don't play on special teams. So they're over working with Christian Parker every single Thursday. Nobody else joins. Yesterday, Brandon Johnson joined. Just a conspiracy theory. But if the Eagles are playing games with Quignon, with the hamstring, and by that I mean competitive advantage games, and that's Nick's wheelhouse, and he's not going to play, I keep an eye on Cooper outside, elevating Brandon Johnson. Keep an eye on that. Just put that little, because it was out of character. It was out of character. I have never seen anybody.
I know Vic has denied wanting to put DeJean on the outside, but there is certain moments where you're going to.
There's a desperation aspect to it. But as far as guys moving, and you have Perry Nickerson on the 53 as a veteran, but I thought it was very notable that Brandon Johnson was specifically working with those two guys, and surprising, to be honest. And I put a little clip on X, so to say, hey, this is happening, and it's rare, and it might be nothing, but it might be everything.
Yeah, we'll see. Good stuff, Andrew. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate everybody for being here today. We'll get to all of our super chats, and then we'll have Tommy Lawler coming up in about 15 minutes. If you've watched the show for a while, you know Tommy Lawler from Eagles Blitz, IGGLES Blitz.com. He's awesome. I love Tommy's work. Skywalk says, good morning, John and Zander. Good morning, brother. I'm excited about the game this weekend. I hope we can course correct and get back on track. They need it, my friend. They need it.
Yeah, I mean, some people brought up to me they'd rather have the Eagles on the road. I don't agree with that. That's a difficult place to play. Very loud. I'm sure there'll be a bunch of Eagles fans, but it's very loud. You know, they're built for that turf, that, you know, very speedy team at the skill, as we talked about. So I don't necessarily like that, but yeah, I mean, if you are home, if you want to look at it, you know, if they get a couple 3-and-outs to start, there are going to be some boos raining down. So maybe from that perspective, it's good to get away, but not that place. You know, maybe if it's a more mundane environment, but I don't ever like playing there. It's like a freaking arena football game with the noise.
Yeah, going to be a good one this weekend. We'll see. Alexander Harris checking in. Thank you, brother, for the $20 super chat. I appreciate you, man. Alexander says, John, how is it that Flacco can come into a new scheme, new receivers, and look like they're the same page, but Hurts in this offense is constantly talking about getting on the same page and been together for years?
Yeah, we talked about it if you were listening. I think people are misinterpreting the communication stuff. As I said, I think a lot of the anticipatory throws that Joe made are just not a modern NFL thing. You see some of these dual threat quarter, all of them. I'm not picking on Jalen Hurts. They don't have that throw in their arsenal. You know, receivers understand how to run an out pattern. You know, if it's 10-yard out, you bang, 10 yards, cut, ball. There's Doug Peterson used to have landmark practices. And by that, I mean, all they did the entire practice was practice their landmarks in the screen game. And that, you know, it's got to, if it's a 7-yard route, it's a 7-yard route. It's not 6, it's not 8. That's the kind of detail you're talking about in the NFL when it comes to receivers. But they know that no matter who, that doesn't change no matter who the quarterback is. The chemistry talk is about changing plays at the line of scrimmage, killing from run to pass, pass to run. That's more of not Joe Flacco. Like I said, you should have been looking at Aaron Rodgers and all the hand signals and all of that kind of stuff, where, you know, you have to communicate on field with the receivers. That's what I think the communication issues are about. Routes are routes, and they don't change. As far as the landmarks that I talked about, and when you have a quarterback who's comfortable, there's the chemistry aspect is what I think you're talking about more than communication. Chemistry is a real thing when you get a feel for a receiver from a chemistry standpoint. But when you have somebody at the elite level of Jamar Chase, obviously Joe Flacco walks in that, and even T. Higgins, he walks into that building and says, you know, I'll say the same thing because I've gotten to see who did Cincinnati play, but I saw Joe's first game too, at least a large portion of it. Yosebas dropped like 4 footballs on him already. And he had a big catch yesterday, thankfully. But you can't trust that guy. But with Chase, and even Chase had a couple drops. He should have had 19 catches in that game.
And that one catch on the sideline, he didn't drop, but it was ruled an incomplete pass.
Well, he bobbled it.
He did. No, I'm not saying it was a bad call. I'm just saying he did haul it in with a beautiful toe drag, but he unfortunately just bobbled it once.
Now, T. Higgins, I don't think dropped anything, but those are big time receivers, and he trusts Chase is going to be where he needs to be. And you saw the throw a couple times on the out. It's coming out before Chase even comes out of his break. But that's not abnormal. That's when you have an anticipatory thrower. Watch Jared Goff. But the dual threat guys, that's not how they play college football anymore. So the guys coming in, they don't really have that skill set to do it.
Well, you know, I don't know. I don't like hearing it, but it is what it is. Jason B, what's up, Jason B? Alexander, thank you for the super chat, brother. As always, appreciated. Jason B says Jalen's rush numbers have plummeted. Why?
Well, I do think they need to add in a few more design quarterback runs, which they've done a little bit, but not as much as normal. Um, I'd be very careful on Jalen Hurts's running numbers from the standpoint of, early in his career versus now, because the tush push is so heavily involved. So it's always going to look worse, from a yards per carry perspective. Because the tush push, you're not getting anything. You're getting a yard, 2 yards. So that's gonna bring down your numbers. So I think that's part of it. But I think early in the season, maybe they're saying, all right, we do want to protect him a little bit. And then as the season goes on, I think you'll see more of it. And I think you'll see more of it starting this week, because there is a little bit an air of desperation, so to speak. But yeah, I think you'll see more of it as the games get more important. And certainly when they get really important, I think you'll see quite a bit of it. And a lot of it will be off schedule as well. But you do need, I would think, a few more design runs, but they're trying to protect him.
Let's keep rolling here. Jay Shaw, what's up, Jay? Thank you, Jason B, for the super. Jay, thank you for the super. He says, forget Ringo and Jackson. Where the hell is Mac McWilliams? He can't be worse. When is Bennett back?
Bennett's got one more game where he's eligible to come back. So after this game, they could start his 21-day practice window. Same for Nolan as well. Same for Darius Cooper as well. If you have any Darius Cooper interest, all three of those guys would be eligible to start their practice window after this game. I don't think Nolan's going to be back till after the bye, but that's just that's speculation. But they could start the window either way. But they're coming sooner rather than later. Hey, be careful what you wish for. When you say it can't be worse, I mean, they're not playing the guys they're playing because they think the guys behind them are better.
Right. Especially when you get down to Ringo and Jackson.
Yeah. And, Vic's, I know people for whatever reason don't have a lot of respect for the offensive coaches, but I think most people have respect for Vic. I think Vic has shown that he's got a good feel for what's good for what he wants done. So I think it should carry some weight when somebody's not playing versus somebody who is. Not to say Matt can't develop, but he's a rookie. He's a 5th round rookie.
Right.
I mean, throwing him out there, and by the way, you're going to throw him out there week 1. Hey, go cover Justin Jefferson. You really want to see that?
I don't at all. It is interesting, John. I know you've added a lot of context to the Kevin Patullo conversation, and we just bring up Vic, but boy, you got this veteran, savvy defensive coordinator who's arguably the best defensive coordinator in pro football in Vic Fangio, and you strip him of all his talent. And then on the other side, you have, now they have talent on defense. I shouldn't say it like that, but you let a lot of guys walk. Offense, you got this high-powered, highest, one of the highest-paid offenses in pro football, and then you put a rookie play caller in. Sometimes I'm like, I don't get who does this shit. What? Who makes? I get it. I'm not blaming Patullo for every problem. I don't think he's been great. I'm not blaming him for every problem.
I talked about
make a lot of sense to it.
The contracts that I've talked about a lot. That's circumstance, and that will begin to change when you have to pay some of the young defensive players, and then you might see the same thing when I don't think Vic's going to retire, but let's pretend Vic retires and you elevate, I don't know, Bobby King as a first-time defensive coordinator.
Clint Hurtt, he's been in DC before.
Or Clint Hurts, but I was using first time, but Clint's done it, as you said, but still would be a young defensive coordinator. And then maybe you fire Kevin because you don't make the Super Bowl, and you bring in, and Jeffrey Lurie forces him to go outside the organization. I don't know. Tom Moore wants one more stint at 85 years old. And, you have the same disconnect on both sides of the football. So the contracts to me are strictly circumstantial, strictly timing. They're good players on defense, are young on their rookie contracts. They made decisions. Milton Williams, again, in the moment, it'd be lovely to have Milton Williams. It's just not realistic. Josh Sweat, maybe you can make a better indication for, especially how things have developed on the edge for the Eagles, but I can't really kill Howie for making those decisions. He had a demarcation line. These guys are above it. I'm going to pay him. These guys are below it. I'm not going to pay him. It's a good problem to have. The Eagles had too many good players last year. Most teams don't have that problem because they don't have that many good players.
We'll see what ends up happening with it. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. We're going to have Tommy Lawler. Let's go to our main man, Tommy Lawler, joining us right now here on Birds 365. Let's bring up Tommy. You can follow him on Twitter at Lawler NFL and go to IGGLESblitz.com, eaglesblitz.com. It's one of the best Eagles websites. Tommy, I love your work. We appreciate you joining in today, my friend. How you doing on this Friday morning?
Good. How you fellas doing?
Good to see you, Tommy. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
It has been a while. Glad to be back.
Good to have you back. Interested to get right off the bat, take your temperature of this team. Boy, man, I think people got used to this winning 20-21. I mean, a historic level of winning. And all of a sudden, this is the NFL. You have a good week, you have a bad week. Teams lose, they win, they jump back. And some of that, the Eagles are going through it. Are you surprised just the level of consternation, I guess, after a couple losses that people haven't seen for a very long time?
No, so with Eagles fans, you guys know, we love Eagles fans, right? But they are, they can be run a tad emotional. And so, heck, I mean, you have a couple of bad drives in a game, people get fired up. Hey, get rid of this bum. So losing 2 games in a row, I can live with that. It's some of the media, the national media, who all of a sudden, you think the Eagles were the worst team in football.
Wow, I was just saying that. I'm like, some of these adjectives being used. I'm like, really?
Listen, we know teams are going to be up and down. That's just the reality of life in the NFL. What the Eagles went through last year, like you said, that was an anomaly. That stretch they had after going 2-2, you just don't find yourself winning games like that. And then to dominate the way they did in the playoffs. I mean, think about it. They won the NFC Championship by 32 points and then had a 34-point lead late in the Super Bowl. That's not common. That's freakish stuff. So we knew they'd come back a little bit to earth this year, especially with some of the losses. But it is fair to say, while the Eagles are 4-2, those 4 wins were flawed, right? There were some issues in those 4 wins. So this team is a few plays away from being 3-3 or 2-4. I mean, a blocked field goal, 2 blocked field goals.
Oh, yeah.
So
they were living on the edge. That's part of the problem. I think the margin of error is too small. The path they took to win last year, even if let's be honest, I mean, numbers wise, the passing offense, Tommy, is not much different than it was last year, really. They just had the success and the crutch was the running game. That's been the difference. The downgrade from having an historic running game to a below average running game with Saquon Barkley in this offensive line. That to me is tough to understand. What and obviously it's everything, but what do you look at when those problems? It doesn't seem like Saquon has lost a step. The offensive line is still talented. Maybe they're banged up. Maybe the physical brand of football they played and how much they played impacted the offensive line more than Saquon Barkley. We all were focused on the touches. Maybe it hurt the offensive line more than Saquon Barkley. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think you're dead on. I mean, the offensive line normally is either the best in the NFL or one of the 2 or 3 best in the NFL. This year, it's not in the top 20. It's just not a good group right now. They have great names, but if you watch the tape, you're not going to see great blocking. If you look at yards before contact, the Eagles are normally, over the past 5 or 6 years, are in the top 5 almost every year. This year, they're down in the 20s. That's not a reflection of Kevin Patullo. That's not a reflection of Saquon Barkley. That's a reflection of blocking. And it goes beyond just the offensive line, the tight ends, the wide receivers. This team is just not blocking well with any consistency. You see plays or stretches in games when they block well. You say, oh, okay, the lights come on, and then it just goes away. And a lot of it, I think, is physical, where Landon Dickerson normally is a dominant run blocker because of his size and his strength. That is a very powerful man, and he's just not getting the movement with any consistency this year. Cam Jurgens still isn't 100%, and you can see his play is erratic. You know, there'll be a play where he's on the move and he looks great, and then there was a critical run play against Denver, and Draymond Jones just drove him 5 yards into the backfield. And Saquon Barkley's amazing, but he's not a magician, right? He can't magically appear on the other side of the line of scrimmage. He's got to actually get there. And when he's got a defensive tackle on his lap, there's not much you can do. So, and honestly, if you go watch the tape, there's times when Jordan Mailata's missing blocks that he shouldn't. Tyler Steen, has had some real good moments as a run blocker, and he's had some moments he missed. He had a little trap play the other day. He just needed to kick out a defensive end, and Saquon had some room to run to get to the outside. Maybe that turns into a 10 or 20 yard gain. God forbid a huge play. Instead, he misses the defensive end, and Saquon's tackled for loss. And all of a sudden, now you've got 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13. Well, what happens then? You end up with a dump off pass to Saquon in the flat for 3 yards, and you throw an incompletion on 3rd and 10, you punt the ball, right? And so it's been a frustrating year, and that's not to say Kevin Patullo and the coaches couldn't be better, but the offensive line, and I do think a lot of it is just they are really not 100% from last year. And it's funny, we didn't think about that. You're right, John. We totally talked about would Saquon wear down and not the big fellas up front.
Yeah.
Tommy, what are you seeing with Jalen Hurts? I'm trying, either you might have to walk me off the ledge here, and I'm not at the ledge, honestly. But 30th offense in football, Tommy. We talked about some of the change in the offseason. They didn't have a lot of change on the offense. And I know you bring up the names, but they bring back all these guys, and sometimes it's like scratching nails on a chalkboard to try and get A.J. Brown the football. I get he's a running quarterback. I get he's a dual threat, but where are you on Jalen Hurts, and how do you evaluate him through the first 6 games so far this year?
He's a tough one. There's times when he's looked really good. He's played some of his best football this year. And then he has times when he just makes critical mistakes. The failed deep ball to Devontae the other day, you got Devontae open for what would have been an 89 or 90-yard touchdown. Wide open. Just throw it up there. The only thing you can't do is overthrow him. You can underthrow him. He'll either catch it or it'll be interference. He overthrows him by 3 or 4 yards, and, you're punting the football. If you score that touchdown, who knows how that changes the game. The interception, you're down 10 points. You drive into the red zone. He forces the ball, Jahan Dotson. He gets picked off. He's got A.J. Brown wide open over the middle. Should have been a touchdown. You got a 27-24 game. The Eagles have momentum. Do the Giants respond? Who knows what goes on there? Instead, he forces the ball to the outside. It's picked off. So Jalen is making some critical mistakes that he didn't make in the past. Normally he wouldn't make mistakes. There was times that he would throw the ball away and he'd frustrate us. He still leads the league in passes just thrown away. And there's times when it's maddening to see him scramble to the right, hold the ball for 5 seconds, and then throw the ball into the 5th row. But at the very least, it's not a loss of yards, and it's not going to be picked off, right? It's going to be a guy selling beer that's going to pick that pass off. Right. And so you can live with that. But this year you're seeing him just have some mistakes that he makes where maybe he'll throw a pass that's off target. Maybe he'll make a poor decision. And like I say, you combine that with it. There's other times when he executes the offense at a really good level. And you sit there and you say, oh, man, okay, he's developed and the things are clicking and you get real hope for him. The passing game for part of the game the other night, I mean, they led that game 17-13, right? They fell down 13-3. They scored 2 touchdowns. Hurts looked good. He was throwing the ball on crossing patterns to Devontae, to AJ. He was getting the ball out. He was making smart reads, and you said, okay, this is it. And then, I don't know, it just goes away. And John was talking earlier about, the need for consistency. And, man, they are anything but consistent. And that's what's so frustrating. How do you, if you're a coach, how do you fix it when the engine runs great half the time and then won't start the other half, right? That's a challenge, right? And I don't know what Sirianni or Patullo need to do. Obviously, a big part of it is getting a running game going, because it can't. Hurts is not a volume passer. That's not a guy you want throwing 40 passes a game. They're sitting Kurt Warner and the old, Rams wanting to just throw it around the field all day long. That's just not who the Eagles are. He can have games when he throws the ball 30 times and he does fine, absolutely. But that's not a guy you want throwing the ball 40 times on a consistent basis. You want to mix in a run. And part of it is teams are playing more zone than ever, and that hurts him. The other problem, and I don't think anybody's really talked about, if they have, I haven't seen a lot on it, is as teams play zone, that makes it tougher for him to throw the football, because he's not as good on playing against the zone, but it also affects him as a runner, right? So Jalen, is any mobile quarterback, is that most dangerous against man coverage, because in man coverage, the defensive backs turn their back.
Yeah.
They're chasing the receivers down the field. In zone, everybody's facing the line of scrimmage. And so Jalen starts to run, and all of a sudden he's got all these guys who can close to the football, and he doesn't have the gaps to run, into the space to run. So he's not as good throwing the football against the zone. He's not as good running the football against the zone. It makes it tough. And that's something that they long-term, Jalen, if he's ever going to become the great quarterback that he can be on a consistent basis, he needs to be better against the zone. I mean, he still has moments when he's a fantastic quarterback, and he's still one of the best in the league. But we're talking about, if you want to get to that next tier level that we see Josh Allen at and Joe Burrow at that level, that you've got to be able to play.
Or Joe Blacko, Tommy. Did you watch Joe Blacko or Joe Blacko's level?
No, he's retired. There is some weird old guy playing for Cincinnati now. I don't know who that is, though.
Did you watch the game last night? Because a lot of people were saying, why can Joe Flacco go into Cincinnati in 10 days and throw and be on the same page with Jamar Chase and throw these anticipatory throws? And that's not what the modern game is now. So I want your thoughts as a historian, and you've seen a lot of football. I mean, that used to be like a staple of every NFL offense, an out pattern. The wide receiver, the ball is out before the wide receiver even makes his cut, and you have that chemistry and you have that touch. And Joe Blacko can do it, and he was humming last night. I think people that expect that, and I'm not picking on Jalen Hurts. You can look at any of these young sort of dual threat quarterbacks coming out of college. They're not taught that way. That's not that tool is not in their arsenal. Can it be developed?
Yeah. And listen, you know how it is. If somebody is supernaturally gifted, they rely on those gifts on a regular basis, right? It becomes a bit of a crutch for them. Joe Flacco, when he was young, 2008, this guy with a big, strong arm. He actually moved pretty well for a guy his size for the first couple of years. He had a 38-yard touchdown run as a rookie. That would shock people today. But he was a guy that had natural talent. But as that talent fades, you have to become precise at what you do. And, you see that with him. You saw that with a guy like Drew Brees. You go back to when Drew Brees was young, he was a kind of a mobile quarterback. As he got older, he's a guy that was just a master in the pocket. He knew the offense inside out. He knew exactly where his receivers be, and he knew where to place the ball, and he had the ability to place the ball in precise spots. And you saw Flacco last night when he was at his best. He was putting the ball in precise spots. And if you're a talented guy who's got physical gifts, sometimes you're looking to make big plays and splash plays and do these other things, and you get away from the little things, which are just throwing short, quick, precise passes. And then the other thing about Flacco is, with his age and his kind of, I don't know if it's confidence or his delusional, maybe it's a little bit of both. It's a healthy mix. Sometimes you just listen, he knows he's not going to win the Super Bowl, so just throw it. Just take chances. Give your guys a chance to make plays. And T. Higgins made some of those plays last night. Jamar Chase made some of those plays last night. Give your guys a chance. And so often we see, heck, go back to Jackson Dart. Think about that third and long on that first series last Thursday. He drops back, and Keely Ringo's in pretty good coverage on the receiver. He throws the ball, just says, go make a play. And his guy went up and made a play. And Ringo, when I watched it live, it looked like he was trying to pick the ball off. And I'm like, just knock it down, dude. Just knock it down. You don't need to try to interception. It's third down. If you knock it down, they pump the ball. You get it back. Forget the interception. Yeah. On a replay, it's like, maybe he was trying to play the ball a little bit and not just pick it off. But you've got to have him play that ball better. Bottom line, he's got to make that breakup. And instead, the Giants receiver made the catch. They ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive. Was the guy open? Not really. But Jackson Dart said, heck with it. Let me give my guy a chance. And he made a play. Right. And sometimes that's one of the things I wish Jalen Hurts did a better job of give your guy a chance. He does it with A.J. Brown on those sideline throws, but he doesn't always do that at other times with his guys. Just give your guy a chance. And if he's got an angle, see if you can put it in a spot where he can go up and make a play. And Joe Flacco did a great job that last night. And the other thing is the Steelers defense. Just where was it?
Oh my goodness.
That's part of it too. How many blown
Watt had his worst game? Somebody posted the stats. I think he had 2 pressures on like 50 rushes. And that's just shocking. That's shocking. So I was watching part of the game with my brother-in-law who's a Steelers fan. And trust me, I heard about how awful that defense was for 3 hours. So,
and that's Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay and Joey Porter at cornerback.
Right.
They've invested a lot in the cornerback position, and nobody could cover Jamar Chase. Nobody.
I guess
or T. Higgins. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the only guy I've seen cover him is Cooper DeJean, right?
Yeah. He got that nice fourth down. That was fourth down stop. That was great play.
It was so shocking that last year Jamar Chase against the Eagles had like 52 yards in receiving or something. And I still don't understand how that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a good point. The best players, everybody has good games. Everybody has bad games.
Absolutely.
And that's, there was a great clip, by the way, of that game where, because Eagles fans were also, hey, we stopped Joe Burrow. Why isn't Joe Burrow, this and that? And then the defense was all arguing over who would get Joe Burrow's jersey, which I thought was great.
Yes, sir.
I thought it was great. But yeah, everybody has good games. Everybody has bad games. But when you hear on this offense, and look, the most troubling part to me is they've been outgained for 6 consecutive games. Every single game, the opponent has had more total yardage. That's typically not the case with a good football team. That troubles me a little bit. But when you hear some of the national people you're talking about, and you hear the words not creative, you hear the words predictable, and that's coming from inside the house with Lane Johnson. And when you hear the words like that, what do you think? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's unfair? Because they seem, and Saquon Barkley said, we were pretty predictable last year. Nobody cared.
Exactly. Listen, you and I both watched the Dallas Cowboys win 3 Super Bowls.
Oh yeah, I bring them up all the time, man.
And you knew what was coming. They had a play called load left. They'd run it, and they would get first downs with Emmitt Smith. Third down, the ball was going to Jay Novacek. Well, you couldn't stop it. Your first and second down, they'd mix in some play action pass. But you go watch that offense. It wasn't super creative.
No.
He just executed at such a high level, and that's what made them special. And the Eagles, listen, if you go back to 2022 with Shane Steichen, they were very creative. They've backed off that a little bit. There's no question. You watch Indianapolis, you see they've got a creative offense, but creative can be overrated. I mean, I know the football analysts on TV and Twitter, they love the creative plays. Man, they get excited. Oh, look at this. They love watching Sean McVay where Puka Nacua does what they call the B insert. Where
I love that.
He's coming up that, and he goes up between the guard and the center, the guard and the tackle, and releases into his pass route. And there's all this creative. They love that stuff, and I get it. That's awesome. That's the fun of football. But you don't have to be creative to win. You've got to be good. And the Eagles were good last year, and they're not playing good football on offense right now. The offensive line's got to play better. And I think the other thing is, so here's where Patullo needs to figure out what he wants to do and what's the best way to use his personnel. You watch the tight ends block. Dallas Goedert normally is one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. He hasn't been this year. He's been inconsistent. Grant Calcaterra is just not a good blocker. Yeah. And I just don't know what Sirianni and Howie why they like him so much. I mean,
Especially
the
for a
guy's
team that
flashes.
wants to play this way. If you want to play this way, why do you have Calcaterra?
Well, exactly. I mean, if you want to play 2 tight ends, go get another tight end who can block, right? That's why I wanted them to draft Jackson Hall as the tight end from Georgia Tech going to Buffalo, and now is doing a fantastic job for that. Or if you say, listen, we want that second tight end to be a guy that can be a real playmaking receiver. Calcaterra has some potential there because he is a good athlete, no question about it. But go invest a better resource and get a player who's just better. Calcaterra is inconsistent, He'll have he had a 40-yard play a couple of years ago, looked just fantastic on. You just don't see that with any consistency. So, but you've got to figure out a way to maximize your personnel, and the Eagles have the pieces to be successful, even with an offensive line that's not playing well. They should be doing better than they are. And that's up to the coaches to say, do we need to abandon, 12 personnel and cut that back and go to more empty sets? Jalen always looks comfortable in empty sets. Get him back there, allows him to see what's going on and, do some of that, do more quarterback design runs. The one thing I give Kevin Matulo credit, you look at the red zone offense. The red zone offense is creative. And they've got the best red zone offense in the NFL, and that's a big reason they're 4-2 and not worse.
Yeah, why is he uncreative? And then all of a sudden he gets very creative in the red zone. I don't understand some of these criticisms, Tommy. I really don't.
Well, listen, here's what it is. It goes back to you're the king. Not you, of course, and nobody would confuse that. When you're the Eagles, whoever it is, going back, I was telling a story the other day. I remember being in a sports bar back in the 90s and watching an Eagles-Cowboys game. And all the Eagles fans, the Eagles were a solid but mediocre type team at that point. And all the Eagles fans around me are like, why does John Madden love the Cowboys so much? All he does is talk about how good Michael Irvin is, Larry Allen is, Emmitt Smith is, Troy Aikman is. I'm like, you just named Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer. He doesn't love the Dallas Cowboys. He loves good players.
Yeah.
And you compare that to the Eagles, and you've got, I can't remember who was on that particular game, but it wasn't Hall of Famers. I can assure you that, right? You're sitting there pointing to Calvin Williams, banged up Ricky Waters, Ty Detmer. It was a drastic difference, right? And you say John Madden doesn't love the Cowboys. He loves good players. And when you build up winners like that, like the Eagles last year, all of a sudden people are just raving about the Eagles. Oh, they're so great. Well, once you get to the top, it's never fun to just support the team at the top. You always like to dig at them. You want to be the first guy to say, oh, I pointed out that they were starting to struggle and they were going to fall apart. So they start coming after whoever the champion is. We saw this with Kansas City. How many times do we see people throw dirt on Kansas City's grave?
Oh, yeah, I did. I'm rethinking it. I did. The Eagles kind of broke me on Kansas City, Tommy. I'm like, this is a descending team.
Do you remember a few years ago, the Patriots, a few years ago, probably a decade at this point, they lost a game on Sunday Night Football really badly. I don't know if it was to the Bengals or somebody. They lost by like 3 or 4 touchdowns. And people said, that's it. Belichick and Brady are done. And I think they won the Super Bowl that year. We just love to build something up, and the only thing we love more than building something up is tearing
knocking it down. Yeah,
right, absolutely. So the Eagles are a victim of their own success. Listen, I'll take this. What you don't want, plenty of people said this. You don't mind good attention, you don't mind bad attention. What you don't want is no attention, right? And so if you want to be that franchise like the Jacksonville Jaguars that's floating and nobody's paying attention, then fine. But the Eagles are going to get their share of criticism. Huge market, lots of stars coming off a Super Bowl season. Anything they do wrong is going to draw a ton of attention. So that's just part of the game.
Yeah, it is, no doubt about it. Tommy, what do you think about the potential for trading right now? Zadarius Smith hung up the cleats, 5 games with the Eagles. He signed here right after the Week 1 game. He's gone. Nolan Smith's on IR. That edge group is thin, my friend. What do you think about some trade candidates for this team, and how realistic do you think it is that they go and try and make a move like that?
So here's where Howie Roseman has a tricky situation, and he and Jeff Lurie and Nick Sirianni need to have a real honest conversation. And they need to say, you know what, we can make trades. We have the draft capital to make trades. We do. But do we want to invest that draft cap? Do we think this team is going to be back to a Super Bowl type team in a month or 2 months? They'll make the playoffs. They've got enough talent. They're going to make the playoffs. But is this realistic, or are these issues going to follow the whole – because this team may just need time off to heal. it may be that the 2025 Eagles are not going to be a title contender because what those guys need, what Landon Dickerson needs is 6 months of no football. What Cam Jurgens needs is 6 months of no football. So before you go spend resources, it's always fun to go spend resources, and then April rolls around, you go, where the hell are all these draft picks we had?
Right.
And you look at some of the trades, Robert Quinn they traded for, just a complete waste of resources. Golden Tate got you a wild card win. They've traded for Tank Bigsby this year. He's not done a thing, right, to help him.
You pointed out in your article, Tommy, they start in every offensive drive in their own 15, their own 12-yard line. Tank Bigsby's done nothing for this team.
Yeah, and so you sit there and it's easy, it's fun for those of us on the outside to say, go make a trade, go get this guy, it'll solve the problems, but I'm not sure that these problems are solvable by a guy. And so I'm part of me is almost saying, don't make a trade, Howie. Stick with who you got. Let the young guys learn. And if it means this is a disappointing season, so be it. But be careful about using those resources, because you go to the draft next year, instead of getting a mediocre defensive end who's available because he's not playing well for his current team, or he's got some issue with his current team, go draft some guys and let's build that room up so you're not stuck with the next going after Josh Uche and Aziz Ojulari next year. Guys you're signing on one-year contracts. You got to build that group up for the future as a group with some young resources.
Now, play devil's advocate on that is my question to you would be, who's that much better than the Philadelphia Eagles? What is that team that you look at and say, oof, I don't know if the Eagles can get by them. I don't look at any team in this league. The Giants. I don't look at any team in this league and say, I don't think the Eagles can't beat them.
You're exactly right. And what I'll tell you, and I thought about this as I was watching the game last night. Let me ask you guys. I'll start asking the questions for a second. Think about, so you had the Rams lose on Thursday Night Football to the Niners. The Eagles lose to the Giants, and then last night you had the Steelers lose to the Bengals and Grandpa Flacco. Does that make you feel different about the Giants game last week? Seeing that there's a trend of divisional upsets, and you sit there and say, well, okay, maybe that was a weird anomaly last week, or not anomaly, but it's part of this trend where maybe it's a reflection that there's a lot more parity this year, and it's not as troubling that the loss to the Giants as we thought it was last week.
Well, from my perspective, I hate Thursday Night Football. There's no, going through it and following this team day to day and being down there every day. They don't practice. Nobody practices for Thursday game. No team. It's not just the Eagles. You have a bunch of walkthroughs. In this case, it was a little bit better. If you have to go on the road, it's typically, if you have to fly, at least the Eagles got to take the luxury motor coach up there. But it's just really quick. It's really weird. The whole thing feels off. So I had that baked into pretty much every Thursday night game at this point, that it could be a little bit weird. But I was troubled by a bad football team beating them like that. I was a little bit troubled by
I'm more troubled, Tommy, by the whole thing, and you pointed it out earlier. They started 4-0, but anybody who was watching the games could see that there were some issues. Last year, we were the 31st ranked passing offense, coupled with the number one running game and the number one defense. Hey, that works. This year, we're the 30th ranked offense. We're struggling to run the ball. The offensive line is beat up. I'm not sure if they're going to get healthy. And the defense, maybe we're putting too much in stock in them. They're one of the lowest paid defenses in football. I know it's circumstantial, but they're not as good. So, is our only way to win if we can dominate in the run game and dominate defensively? That's my concern.
Well, they obviously have enough talent that they were able to go 4-0. And while we say, I don't want to use the phrase they got lucky, because it's not luck. Those field goal blocks were by design, right? Some of the turnovers, the defense made critical plays. The interception against Kansas City, they made that critical play in the red zone. Against Dallas, they knocked the football out. These weren't lucky plays. They were plays where the defense made something. And so there is something that this group can win ugly, right? And there is something to be said for that. Don't discount that as a talent. There is something to be said for that. But there still are some flaws that make me wonder, what is the peak? What is the ceiling for this team? And I'm not sure. But John, your point is absolutely right. This is the AFC is just a complete mess this year. Think about the Ravens; they're 1-5.
Oh my God! I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I'm already embarrassed.
I actually picked them to go 1-5. It's written down somewhere. I just didn't show it to you. No, they're a mess. Buffalo, while Buffalo's 4-2, they've lost 2 straight. If you go back, they needed a miracle to beat Baltimore in the season opener. They easily could be a 3-3 football team.
Yeah.
Kansas City looks like they're getting healthy. They're getting right. That they could be a team to watch, but the AFC, you don't trust anybody in the AFC. The Colts, you can make an argument the Colts are the best team in the AFC.
I think they are. I mean, through 6 games.
Do you trust that to go for a whole season? Maybe. I don't know. They're good along the line of scrimmage, and Daniel Jones, what he's doing. The guy was a top pick for a reason. He had physical ability. He just went to a highly dysfunctional situation in New York, and he couldn't take advantage of that ability. Now he's got a creative offensive coach. He's got a good offensive line. He's got some skill players, and you're seeing the guys playing good football. So we'll see it.
The whole league, by the way, Tommy, is reclamation projects at quarterback. I feel the guys playing well. The Sam Darnolds of the world, the Daniel Joneses of the world, the Baker Mayfields of the world. It's unbelievable.
I think I hear what you're saying. You want the Eagles to trade Jalen Hurts for Joe Flacco? Am I reading this right?
Exactly. Yeah, no.
But your point, go back to the NFC. Who do you fear? The Lions look really good, but they're just so banged up on defense already, and we know that's what happened to them last year, and they couldn't win a playoff game. Tampa's the one team that's a little bit of an X factor because they've been winning ugly, but they've been really banged up, and they're going to start to get their players back.
Yeah. And by the way, the Eagles beat Tampa.
Right, they did.
Yeah.
That's exactly. But they beat them with a backup right tackle, a backup left guard, Mike Evans, I guess they did have Godwin, but he was a shell of himself in that game. So you say if we play that game over, how does it? Are the Eagles going to be better? Or is Tampa going to be better? And I don't know. Maybe. Well, of course, the other thing is it won't be 127 degrees. So who knows how Tampa plays in a different setting? So your point is absolutely right that maybe Howie's going to say the league is wide open right there because there is no team that you just sit there and say that's a juggernaut. The flip side of that is the Eagles were not a juggernaut at this point last year when they were 4-2 this time last year, and nobody was sitting there going, "Oh my God, watch out for the Eagles! They're a Super Bowl team." That didn't start for another few more weeks, and all of a sudden they got some momentum, and people said, "All right, that team's legit." So somebody's going to emerge over the next few weeks, whether it's Detroit or Tampa or I don't know, maybe the Chiefs, the Colts,
Green Bay, maybe Green Bay.
Yeah, hey, maybe it's the Eagles, right?
Maybe the Eagles.
Tommy, how do you evaluate Kevin Patullo at this point? He's all over. Everybody wants to talk about Kevin Patullo, blame Kevin Patullo. What do you think of Kevin Patullo so far this year?
My instinct is blame John McMullen, but now Patullo, he's a complicated discussion because he's coaching with one hand tied behind his back because of the offensive line struggles. And so you say to him, what have you done well? Well, the red zone, you get an A+ for the red zone. Third down, you're not going to get a good grade. Now, you're not going to fail them for third down. They're awful on third down. But a lot of these are third and longs, right?
Yeah.
But you say you do need to be more creative than you are. There's just because we saw that against Denver. It was 3rd and 13 or 17, and they throw a 52-yard pass to Devontae. You've got these star receivers. Don't always just check the ball down. At some point, just throw it up. Again, what did I talk about Joe Flacco? Give your guy a chance to make a play. Hurts gave Devontae a chance to make a play. He does. Huge catch, leads to a scoring drive. So take some chances. Throw the ball downfield. If it gets picked off, is that different than a punt? So I think Patullo needs to be more creative, more aggressive on third downs. The run game, I do wish he was more creative. They have certain runs that look good and they'll go away from it. Get under center more if that'll help you. Run more outside plays. They have a play called Flip 90 that they've run once this year and it went for a nice gain. Is there a law that says you can't run that play twice? Right? A Flip 90 is my favorite football play. I love that play. And play it. Do it again. If somebody stops it, then quit running it. But until they stop it, keep running it, man. It drives me nuts for them not to stick with some stuff that works. So I think Patullo's really a mixed bag. I probably give him a C. I know most people would give him an F-. But I would give him a
minus,
C because I think
yeah.
he's done good in some things and he's struggled in some things.
Well, you mentioned, I mean, a part of it is they're so hyper ball security conscious, which is a good thing. You go that 20 of 21 stretch, they had, I believe it was 42 takeaways versus 9 giveaways. I might be 1 or 2, somewhere in that range. Unbelievable. And they boil it down to, you know, if you walk into the NovaCare Complex Auditorium, they got these 2 big banners. They're all over the building, ball security, and taking it away from the defensive person. All they do. They every practice, they have multiple drills, circuits, they call them, of ball security and taking the football away. They really, really, really overemphasize it. And I say overemphasize because I think it has made Jalen Hurts a little bit cautious to take some of those chances. It's a fine line, but you know, their numbers for all the analytics and all the people, they look at 2 numbers: turnovers and explosive plays.
Right.
And if you win them both, you win a amazing amount of time. They keep winning the turnover battle for the most part. The explosive plays haven't been there. That's the part that's missing. But
Right.
and then if you boil it down to the more important of the 2, it's turnovers. The takeaway giveaway.
Sure.
Are they too stringent with it? Is what
I think there's something to be said for that. Yeah, because you do want to. If you're going to win football games, you have to be aggressive. You have to have a mindset. You can't say, let's play not to lose, right? You have to play to win. And we see the way Sirianni does that on 4th downs. He goes for it. He's an aggressive coach. But I think you're right. If you put that seed in somebody's head, don't turn it over. Don't turn it over. You know, sometimes messaging is important. You know, you may want to say to Jalen, protect the ball. It's funny, protect the ball and don't turn over. The same thing, but different messaging. So one says protect the ball. Okay, that's positive. Don't turn it over puts the seed in there of don't make a mistake. Be careful. Be careful. And all of a sudden you find yourself hesitant in a key moment and you throw the ball into the 5th row. You know, at some point you've got to take some chances. You've got to be a little aggressive. So I would say maybe messaging is there, but they need to just do something on the offense where they are a little bit more aggressive than they are right now. That needs to change. And I tell you, one of the other funny things as you look at last season, this season, is complementary football, right? Where last year the offense would get the ball and they'd go, let's say you drove down and kicked a field goal, they get 3 points. Then the defense comes on the field and maybe it's a 3 and out, maybe it's 4 and out, 5 and out, but they get the football back to the offense. And the offense goes down and maybe they kick another field goal, maybe they score a touchdown. And let's say you just kick another field goal 6-0, and the defense comes back on the field and again 3, 4, 5 and out, something, give a little bit of yard, they get the football back for the offense. This year, the offense goes 3 and out, the defense gives up a scoring drive, then the offense comes out, they go 3 and out, then the defense comes out and they give up a score. And so the defense is tired, the offense is frustrated, and instead of last year where they helped each other out, they played complementary football. You sit there and you see them, and they're both bringing out the worst in each other. You know, the offense is going 3 and out. They're putting the defense back out there. The defense can't get a key stop. And the defense gives up points, and the offense feels desperate because they've got to catch up. They're playing from behind. Well, then they get sloppy, get 3 and out, 4 and out, whatever it is. The defense right back out there. That defense, and especially playing in the Tampa game and then the Denver game, 2 games where it was hot. The defense really, struggled late in those games, couldn't come up with key stops. Fangio said he didn't think that it had anything to do with it, but watching as an outsider, it sure felt like they wore down a little bit, and maybe some of it's physical, maybe some of it's just mental and emotional, where you just get that, you start to think, we're not going to make that play. And it hasn't happened. And certainly in the Giants game in the 4th quarter, it was just a disaster, so the end of games has not been what it was in the past, where the Eagles would get the ball with a 1 possession lead and 6 minutes left and have a 5.5 minute drive, kick a field goal, give it back to the opponent, say, you got 30 seconds to score 2 possessions. Good luck, and then like the Ravens would drive down, score a touchdown and cut it close. But the Eagles had that ability to really close out games last year, and they're not doing it this year. And it's it's another thing that Sirianni's got to look at and say, how do we get better here?
Tommy, prediction for the game. Do they get back on track this week?
Well, my predictions have been pretty awful this year, so they're so hard to predict. And the Vikings are such a weird team. They're a 3-2
Very
team.
weird team.
Yeah.
Very
with
weird.
with wins over Chicago, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. So if you have a C, you're going to lose to them. They've lost to Pittsburgh, and then they lost another game. So
P, they're going to lose to. That's a good sign for the Eagles.
I think so. I think the Eagles will find a way to win this game. If they lose to Carson Wentz, it's going to look like War of the Worlds out there in Philadelphia. All right, you don't want to lose to Carson Wentz for
why do people in Philadelphia hate Carson Wentz so much?
I don't think it's so much hatred as it's the fallen hero. There are some people who hate him.
He was so good. He was so good in 2017. He was so
good. The best quarterback play we've had in Philly, maybe ever that season. I know it was a short season, but I mean that was incredible quarterbacking.
But that's what made I think some fans hate him so much is that there was so much promise. Well, listen, it goes back to the story we heard from I think it was Darren Sproles.
Yeah, Darren. Yeah,
who said that Foles said something about not wanting the Eagles to win a Super Bowl without him.
Yeah, that's true.
And the teammates looked at him like, "Holy crap, dude! You realize you said that out loud?"
Yeah,
right? Like,
which was a lot of immaturity, but a lot of people don't know, and the running backs couldn't stand Carson. But I do think as time went by, people would leave that in the past and say, "Hey, you know what? That was a special time for this organization." I don't get that feeling. Maybe it'll exist sometime. Now, I root for Carson. I'm like, yeah, obviously Eagles fans don't want him to win this week, but any other week, I'd be rooting for that guy. I'd be like, hey, he helped me get my first stinking Super Bowl.
Yeah,
he was a big part of that.
You're right. He was phenomenal for the first 12 games of the year, whatever it was. He was going to be the NFL MVP. Played a super high level. I think the not want to lose to Wentz. I think it's your ex, right? You don't want to lose to your ex. Yeah. I think that's what it is. So I don't think it's like the hatred of. Listen, everybody when he left the Eagles, everybody wanted to see that guy hit rock bottom, and he hit rock bottom. He pulled out a shovel and started digging and went further than that, right? So I think people have seen him suffer enough, and they're willing to say, oh, you know what? It's because it's not like he destroyed the team. It's not like he destroyed the city. He just offered so much hope, and then got so weird about Foles winning the Super Bowl. But I think some of that stuff has passed by. But now you just don't want to lose to. First of all, they don't want to lose a third game.
I don't want to lose to anybody.
They don't want to lose to the Vikings, and then to lose to your ex, who's rehabbed and is trying to clean his life up, or whatever metaphor you want to use for it, right? You don't want to lose to that person. So, So I think that the Eagles, as much as anything, I'd love to see them play a full, complete game of pretty good football. It doesn't have to be great. I'm not looking for a 40-10 win, but just play 4 quarters where you say that was a smart football team for 4 quarters. That hadn't been the case this year. No. But at this point, trying to get over a 2-game losing streak, if they win 11-10 Jet style, Jets Broncos style, I'll be fine with that. Just go find a way to win that football game. If you can somehow get to the bye 6-2, take a week off, heal yourself, and get through it, then that would be something to get ready for.
Things are looking up if that's the case. No doubt.
Yeah, exactly. What you don't want to do is limp in there with a third straight loss.
No doubt. Tommy, good stuff, man. We appreciate you joining in. Make sure you guys follow him at Lawler NFL and go to eaglesblitz.com. That's IGGLES blitz.com. Tommy, thanks for joining in today, brother. We appreciate talking to you. We hope to talk to you again soon. All right.
Have a great weekend, fellas.
All right.
Thanks, bud.
There's Tommy Lawler joining us right here on Birds 365. Great show today and a great guest spot there from Tommy Lawler. We appreciate him joining in. John, we got some super chats to get through to close out the show. John, what is your prediction for the game this weekend? Eagles Vikings Week 7 matchup.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to win. I think good style matchup for them. I think there's going to be some points, though. I think there's going to be some big plays from the Vikings because that's what they do. But probably be some couple turnovers as well that'll shift things the Eagles' way. I think they'll win about a 28-23 game is what I'm looking at.
23-20, you said?
28-23.
28-23. I got 24-20 Birds. So you got the Eagles still winning.
Yeah.
So, John, that's, you told me you weren't going to pick against them until they lost, but you
Yeah,
still,
well, I don't like if this were last year's
you're
Vikings.
still in, John. You are still in on the 2025
No, not
Eagles.
necessarily. If this were last year's Vikings team, I would pick the Vikings.
Okay.
Then when they had good quarterback play, they don't have good quarterback play. I mean, Carson's been okay. He's been better than JJ McCarthy. Trust me, if Sam Darnold was playing this game, I'd pick the Vikings. He's not.
Darnold's playing good football again in Seattle. He's got Jackson Smith and Jigba, maybe one of the better receivers in football right now. All right, so 28-23, J-Mac has the Eagles winning the game. Let's go to our super chats here on the show. Appreciate everybody for being here today. Let's go to Sean. What's up, Sean? Do you think defenses have an advantage because Jalen won't throw over the middle? I do.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, they don't throw the ball over the middle a lot.
Did you see that clip that Orlovsky did yesterday?
I did not.
I know you don't watch stuff like that, but he did show the heat chart of everywhere Jalen's thrown. 5 completions to the middle of the field, John. And somebody pointed out to me in the chat, it's all underneath, right? It's all underneath of the flat. It's barely past 10 yards. All outside the numbers. And someone said, well, Zander, you should have been ready for this. John McMullen came on your show every day after training camp and said, that's all they do. They don't push the ball down the field. They don't throw the ball. And I'm like, shit, maybe you're right. Maybe this is what they work on. Maybe this is just what they want to be on offense. Hard to believe. But
yeah, that's why maybe the play of the year offensively was, I think it was a 33-yard seam route that Dallas Goedert for a touchdown because it was so off, book for the Eagles, so to speak. They so rarely do it. And part of that is we just talked with Tommy about they don't want to turn it over. They are hyper ball security conscious. And if you throw the football in the middle of the field, you're taking a chance because even if it's not the quarterback's fault, you get tip balls and all of a sudden it's a tip drill and the ball's going the other way. And I think it's ball security has been beaten into Jalen Hurts really since his childhood because his father's very, very ball security conscious. And so is Nick Saban. It's been a long time, and I think he has taken to that, and he's very good at it. He takes care of the football. But you lose something when you're that hyper conscious of it.
Yep. Steve, Sean, appreciate it, brother. Here's Sean again. If the defense gave up 24 points a game, this offense should get you 27. Sean, it feels like they should, but sometimes it feels like doing anything on this offense is a drill.
Yeah, I've talked about that a lot. I don't think people realize how even the best offenses of all time are not going to score. Now they have. I mean, the best is a
27 is not a crazy number.
It's pretty crazy consistently. For this group, it is. Not for the greatest show on turf Rams or the Peyton Manning Broncos, who
they just make everything look hard. It feels like this offense.
They don't play that style. You have to play a certain style. The Detroit Lions, you have to play like the Detroit Lions to score that much on a consistent basis. They don't play like that, obviously.
Yeah, very obviously. I could say that again. Alfredo says, I want to be aggressive post-game Rams. Jay wants to be aggressive. Jalen wants to be aggressive post-game Rams. Yeah, well, he said that after with Pam Oliver, which was interesting, but
a lot of guys. I do think that I used to tell Jody all the time. Like people act like these guys are under oath when they say something. They're not. They're often speaking extemporaneously. Sometimes they say stuff and they contradict themselves in the same press conference. So if you're just going to hold on to one comment, especially after an emotional game, it's not necessarily going to give you the full picture. But yeah, I mean, they don't play the style, nor are they equipped to play that style. Of say the Lions, who averaged 33 5.2 points per game last season. They don't play that style of offense.
Here's James M. James M says, I remember getting laughed at you two over a month ago for saying the Eagles should look in a Tariq Woolen trade. How the tables have turned. I don't remember laughing at you, James, but maybe I did.
Where have the tables turned? Because you read some aggregator? I think it would be a terrible trade. I haven't turned at all. I think people don't understand the struggles that Tariq Woolen is having in Seattle. I don't think they watch him. I don't think they watch the tape. I don't think he's a fit. I don't care what somebody else says. If the Eagles trade for him 2 weeks in, you ain't going to be happy. That's my assessment.
John never changed, brother. All right, John, your final thought here on a football.
Well, I mean, I can only give my opinion. I don't care about somebody else's opinion.
No, I agree. I think that was a good
Josh Joe beat him out. I love Josh. Josh is my guy.
James M., you better come correct if you're going to chirp at J-Mac in a super chat, my friend. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts here on a Football Friday. John, this team's got to win this week, man. This team's got to win. I know it's not a must win, but it's
I don't think they got to win because even if they lose, they're going to beat the Giants. They're not going to lose twice to the Giants. And then you go in the bye at 5-3 and try to. But my bigger point with Tommy is I think they're going to win the game. But my bigger point with Tommy is nobody scares me in the NFC. There's nobody that if the Eagles right the ship, really what goes on, I'm not saying they don't win this game. They certainly do. I'm just saying I wouldn't be jumping off the Walt Whitman if they don't. There's still plenty of football. I think the team that wins this year is the team that's going to get clicking in November, December. So that's where you should be hyper focused on. But I do think it's a good style matchup for them. My only concern is the environment. It's a difficult place to play. And a little bit the defense. They're going to create some havoc. So, there could be a tip ball going the other way. So it's a tough game, but they should win it. I think they will win it, but I don't think it will be, blow it up time if they do lose a close game. Now, if they lose 40-7, yeah, then I'd be concerned. But I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either. I don't think that's happening either. Johnny Mac, great show, my man. Great week of shows. And we will catch you Sunday for the pregame show. A 1 p.m. John. So we got the nice early game. It's in Minnesota.
I like that. That's the best part of it all.
Yeah, I know you love that. All right, John. Good stuff, man. I'll talk to you on Sunday. All right, brother?
All right. See y'all.
All right, thanks, John. There's Johnny Mac. Make sure you follow him at JAKIB McMullen. He's the #1 Eagles beat reporter in town, and I don't think it's relatively close, to be frank with all of you. Appreciate everybody for being here today. All right, we got a good show planned. We had a good show already, obviously. We'll have a Zander time today, obviously. Real quick, let me just turn this off. Yeah, manage that. All right, I got 24-20. Give me some predictions in the chat, guys. Give me some predictions. Where are we on this team? Where are we on what this game's going to be? I have to do some production. I might take a quick break, and then we'll come back for Zander time. Give me some predictions there in the chat. John had 28-23 Birds. I got 24-20 Eagles. Abe has 30-20 Vikings. Zeal 26-17 Vikings. All right. 28-17 Vikes, 28-13 Vikes, 31-22 Birds. Hip Hop has 31-20. So many Vikings. This is insane. 26-17 Birds, 27-16 Birds, 24-20 Vikings. Flex, meaning you have the same score. Other way, I get the Eagles winning. 41-17 Vikings. Holy shit, guys. I want to say something. So there's been a lot of people very upset with me this week, because I've been hard on the Eagles. And I understand I have been hard on the Eagles. And maybe in spots I've been too hard. And if they throw egg back at my face, I will be the first person to come up here and say, I have egg on my face. And I hope they do, to be frank. I don't think they're done for the year. I think they're going to turn this thing around. But I do want to say something. I think people are discounting the way this city feels about this team right now. I know we're coming off a Super Bowl. I know there are people online. Like if you go on Eagles Twitter, which is a shit show, by the way, it's like everybody is like, "Oh my God, you're such a crybaby. The Eagles are fine. We're this, we're that. Jalen's this, Jalen's that." We do a Thursday night show at Screwballs in King of Prussia. It's a sports bar. We've been doing it there for years. Okay, I don't do it. My pop does it. He does it, show there. He's got Henry Racich and a couple guys on the show. All right. The bar every week is filled with Eagles fans. I talked to my pop after the show last night. He said, Zander, in all the years I've done Screwballs, I've never heard Eagles fans so upset and out on this team this early. He said, I have one guy who picks the Eagles. He's got every Eagles jersey in the book. He comes back. He comes every week and he picks the Eagles. Even him last night picked the Vikings. So this city is not happy with this Eagles team. You might be mad at me. There might be internet trolls who are upset with me. I'm telling you right now, the pulse of the city is concern over the Philadelphia Eagles. Whether you want to hear it or not, doesn't matter. Whether you want to hear it or not, doesn't matter. The pulse of the city is, and I have a lot of people in here who love to chirp, right? Embrace, you're in Texas. When's the last time you've been in Philadelphia? Arthur, I'm pretty sure you're not in Philly either. Like how many of you people who are constantly, oh my God, Eagle fanboys, aren't even in the area? How many of you guys aren't even in the area? Yeah, right. Stay on that side. What the fuck does that mean, Arthur? T-Time says Philly native. There you go. That's my kind of guy. I like to hear from the real people of Philadelphia. Hip-hop's in the area. Daz isn't anymore, but Daz, you grew up here. Flexing's in. I know Flex. I know you're in the area. All right. I know you're in the area. Jason, I know where you're at. You're in the area. Fleming, I know where you're at. You're in the area. I'm just telling you. There are some people out there who think that, JAKIB Sports, the most negative Eagles outlet ever. Shut the fuck up. We talk about everything. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. When the highs are high, we talk about them. When the lows are low, we talk about them. All right? I'm just saying. When Big Al, who's been coming to Screwballs for 5 years and has never picked against the Eagles once, even in 2023 shows up and he says, Krause, the Eagles are going to lose to the Vikings. This team stinks. When Big Al says that at Screwballs, you're like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. I don't think everybody's as high as they think on this team. Chester's a nice area. I know, HKP, they do. All right. People have their think. I'm just pointing it out. It's just a fun conversation, brother. It's not supposed to be telling people what to think, but all right. I never said you're not allowed to be a Philly fan. I'm just saying there's a lot of internet people who are Eagles fans, because of the Super Bowl or whatever reason. And, you say one bad thing and they're like, oh my God, you're this, you're that, you're an Eagle hater. It's like, no, I'm not. Shut the fuck up. If you live in Philly, you know that we criticize the team. Oh, Hogan with a big super chat. Hogan, I love you, brother. I love you, Hogan. All right, we got great people in here. And Hogan's not an Eagles fan, but we got a lot of great people in here who aren't Eagles fans. You do not have to be an Eagles fan to be a fan of JAKIB Sports. You just don't. I like real sports fans a lot more than I like Eagle fanboys. Okay? I agree, Joe. That's why I bring it up. You have to live here to understand the mindset. Hollywood says, and Hollywood, thank you for the support. Hey, Zander, I appreciate you calling out that guy who was saying stuff about my – fuck that guy, Hogan. That was a stupid fucking comment. Fuck that guy. That guy was a piece of shit. Whenever somebody shows you who they are, Hogan, believe them. That guy was a piece of shit. Talking about your mother like that, who passed away. By the way, rest in peace. God rest her soul, and I hope everything's good with you. That guy was a piece of dog shit. Seriously. Sorry, I shouldn't talk about people like that. But, that was a ridiculous comment. That was a totally ridiculous comment, what he said in the chat. He said, you're always a Class A guy. Have a nice weekend, brother. The entire chat, too. Go 49ers. 49ers stink, Hogan. You might have a quarterback issue there, by the way. You might have a quarterback issue there, by the way. All right? You might. But F that dude. Seriously. And thanks for the super chat, Hogan. Screw that dude. Seriously, I didn't like that dude either. But Theodore, I see you stirring the pot, Theo. I see you stirring the pot. I see you stirring the pot, Theo. Theo's been talking about these Eagles for a long time in our chat. And he's been taking a lot of shit for a long time in our chat. All right, especially our comments section. I always go, whenever I read that, I always tell you guys, I read all the comments. The comments after, the live show comments, I read as many of them as I can. But at the end of the day, we get, thousands of them. But I do read all the comments after, all the comments on the bottom of videos and stuff. And I've always thought that that JAKIB Sport, and maybe this is biased because it's my company, but I've always thought that the JAKIB Sports comments are a good indicator of the fan base. I do. And look, maybe some will say no. I'm not saying there's millions of Eagles fans. We do not speak for everybody. I'm just saying, typically we have a good synopsis on the fan base thoughts. When last year, when we're too negative, people let us know. And most of the time they're right, like they were last year, and the Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl. So the fan base is typically, represented well in our comment section. There's a lot of people concerned about this Eagles team. All right. There has been. And the comments certainly show that. So it is what it is. So we'll see what ends up happening. Tone out in Texas. You got to give Tone a shot. Tone was Philly though, man. Tone moved out to Texas back when he worked actually with JAKIB. But Tone's a Philly guy, man. I remember when I first met Tone. I first met Tone when we were at Ocean doing the postgame show. But I remember dropping off to Tone his computer, his production computer, and his mic and stuff. Right down in Philly, man. Right down in Philly. It was about 20 minutes from where I live. So Tone is a Philly guy. You can't clump Tone into a Texas guy. He moved there a couple years ago. I got love for Tone. I do like Tone. I don't know if he likes me, but I like Tone. I think he's a good dude. And I think he's doing a good job on content. Theodore says, just love what you do, young buck. Thanks, Theo. I appreciate you, brother. I do appreciate you, man. All right. I appreciate you. No, he's not a Texas guy. All right. Philly people you do not want to hear that they're called the Texas guy, If you're a Philly guy, you're a Philly guy, no matter where you go. It is what it is. He does live out there. Yeah, Dank. He's out there now. I know, Dank. I was just pointing it out. All right. I got you. Joe Whip says, I had good vibes last year, not this year. Uh-oh. I support Xander. Thank you, Hollywood. We appreciate you, brother. I lived in Texas for 2 years. I told you guys that, right? Arthur says, Z, we win in the Super Bowl. Arthur, let me inject you with something. All right, I got my marker for my whiteboard here. Let me inject you with some truth serum. All right? Shh. You've been injected, Arthur. Shh. Do you really think so? I hope we do. Don't get me wrong. I think we still have a good chance because we have a great roster. But, I don't know, dude. This team just doesn't – they're just not clicking right now. They're just like – they're just not doing what Super Bowl can – I don't know. It's early. Arthur, you honestly believe it? You're not lying to me? You got no Eagle glasses on. You honestly believe that this team is Super Bowl bound? Be as real as you possibly can, Arthur. As real as Arthur can get. Indica. All right, so you're stoned. So you're stoned. Did he answer me? No, he answered Theo. He said, what's straight? We got a lot of potheads in the JAKIB chat. I never knew that until you guys always talk about it. I told you guys I'm coming out with the JAKIB gummy one day. It's called Cilioized. Oh, man. We got to come up with some JAKIB gummies or something for the chat room. All right. We got to come up with some JAKIB gummies. Arthur says, I know so, Z. All right. All right. All right. Arthur, I appreciate your support and I appreciate your confidence in the football team. Okay. All right. Alfredo says, see, Alfredo, this is what Alfredo is like. On Twitter, he's bitching constantly about the Eagles' offense. And I get it. Believe me, Alfredo, I'm with you. And then he comes in and says, we're winning the Super Bowl. Now, that is a Philadelphia. You're driving yourself crazy over the way it looks, but you still have an unwavering belief they're going to win it all. We'll see. Let's go to my boy Sean, becomes a member. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it, man. Can someone let me know what type of member? I'll look. Sean upgraded to a legend. Thank you, Sean. That's dope, man. Appreciate that very much, dude. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you, dude. Thanks, everybody, for all the support. We've had a lot of great support. So thank you very much, everybody, for always showing out. Super chats, likes, shares, subscribes, comments, memberships. It's all appreciated, and it all goes a long way. So big thanks to everybody. Sean, thanks for upgrading to a legend member, my friend. That's appreciated. Philly, roll Philly says, Andrew, you're smoking the wrong pot. You guys are all talking about pot now. All right. Sean, I missed your super. I thought I got your super. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, I got it. I got it. Jalen Wentz versus Carson Hurts. Oh, no. Jalen Wentz versus Carson Hurts. What does that even mean? Sean, what the hell does that even mean? Legitimately, what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. We do, Roll Philly. You're right about that. You're right. We do have a good of chance as anybody because it's so all over the map right now in the NFL. All right. It's so all over the map. I need an explanation on what the hell this means, though. Jalen Wentz versus Carson Hurts. I'm getting a headache. I wonder if it's because of this comment. Anyone mess with blue cheese? I love blue cheese on wings. You know exactly what that. I'm not lying to you, Ryan. I don't. I don't. They're very different types of players, dude. They're very different types of players, very different types of persons. Yeah, there's a. This is interesting. Thomas says, I'm in Huntington Beach, California. There's a good Eagles bar. There's a lot of great Eagles bars out there. That's true. You can figure out. There's a lot of Eagles bars in many, many places. You a nasty dude. Why, Flex? Because I like blue cheese? Man, come on. Come on, man. Blue cheese on wings is the only way to go. Flex, this will tell me a lot about you. It's okay that you don't like blue cheese. All right, I'm okay with that. You have toddler taste buds. You probably go and you get the kids menu and you order chicken fingers and French fry. I understand. It's okay, Flex. If you have a light taste bud, still ordering off the kids menu. I like grilled cheese sandwiches and, chicken tenders and French fries and, little personal pizzas. I got you. But do you like ranch on your wings? If you put ranch on your wings, I am out on you. If you don't want blue cheese, okay. Ooh, lemon pepper wings are fire. Lemon pepper wings. Now we're talking. But if you're putting ranch, oh, Theo. Oh, ranch on wings. Oh, ranch is gnarly, man. Ranch on wings? What is the infatuation everybody has with ranch? It smells gnarly. It tastes gnarly. I mean, every once in a while I can eat ranch. I'm not like a ranch hater. I can't like ranch on wings. Ugh. That is gnarly, bro. Give me blue cheese all day on ranch over ranch on wings. ranch over moldy cheese. Man, Ryan, I go to a different level too with blue cheese. All right. TK Fresh, you don't know a fucking thing about me. This guy's a Zander. You didn't grow up poor. I love people who assume the way I grew up. You don't know a fucking thing about me, my guy. All right? You don't know a thing about me. So don't act like you do. Okay? I don't think people liking ranch has anything to do with your where you are financially. I'm sorry, but when people who assume they know shit about people is just shut the fuck up. TK. Holy shit. Yeah, right. It's like blue cheese is for rich people. Oh, okay, TK. That makes a lot of sense. Vulnerable says, missed the show today. Did J-Mac give a go Birds on his prediction? He didn't give a go Birds, but he did pick the Eagles. 28-23 Eagles. That's Johnny Mac. All right. Johnny Mac. He picked the Birds. Let me get to these super chats. Terrence, what's up, my boy? Thank you for the super chat, my guy. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support and appreciate you being here. Terrence says, I also think people are out on this team based on what happened in 23. Any adversity, the sky is falling. Now, if it doesn't look like last year of blowing teams out, people are upset. At the bye last year, did you think we win the Super Bowl? It's a fair point. I mean, I do think, Terrence, that 23 collapse is going to kind of live with this team until they give enough evidence that they've turned the tide. Like, for example, 23, you had a collapse. 24, you had a righting of the ship, right? Now 23 or 25, it's like, does it go either way? It could go either way. So if they do another thing where they can correct and course correct and fix the ship and then go on a winning streak, now you have 2 years of showing that you can correct the problems. That's more of a trend than the year of collapse. So until you're a little bit further removed, I think people are always going to hang on 23. But I don't necessarily think this team is anything like 23. I don't. I don't really see any of the comps. You know, I'm not saying they can't have a bad year like 23, but I don't see the comps. You know, I don't see the comps. You eat ranch, poor. Kenny, who the fuck comes up with this shit? Seriously, who comes up with this crap? Who comes up with this crap? No, I'm grateful. I mean, the way I grew up was good. My parents worked their ass off. But let's be real. I mean, my mom's still at work. She's 60. My dad's still working his ass off every single day. I grew up middle class. I mean, my parents had to work their ass off. They sent us to private school, which is obviously very expensive, but we didn't have extra money. We ate ramen noodles, ramen noodles and pasta. My mom's 100% Italian. Ask my mom, when you have 4 kids, all right, and you're working and husband and wife are both working to get by and do what they got to do to try and give their kids a better life, which I've always gotten a kick out of. Isn't that the goal? If you have kids, don't you want to do what you can and make them succeed? I mean, I certainly do, and I bring my kids into the world, God willing, one day. But my mom will tell you, when you're trying to make ends meet and you got to feed, you got tummies to feed, pasta. All right, it's cheap. And it goes a long way. It's cheap and it goes a long way. All right? That's what my mom will tell you. Here's Houston. Holy shit, Houston. I'll get to all super chats in a sec. Zander, everyone needs to stop crying. Go get CJ Gardner-Johnson, get an edge rusher, and hold the ship till everyone's healthy. This Philly football, bitches. No more crying. # you're the best, Zander. Houston, I kind of like that mentality. I kind of like it, but you got a lot of optimism there. All right. What do you think this is, Houston? The middle of June? Who do you think's available? When does free agency start? May? April? No, when is it? Free agency. March? Before the draft, right? Got my dates all mixed up, man. There's too many big dates. No, there's definitely different levels. I got you, TK. I got you, brother. I don't disrespect people based on the way they grew up. Rich, poor, don't care. Doesn't bother me. I care about the content of your character and the person that you are. Houston, appreciate that chat, my brother. All right. I am not a mac and cheese guy. All right. Not a mac and cheese guy. I'll eat it, but it's not like my favorite thing in the world. All right. Dank, I appreciate this. I'm riding and dying with the birds. Well, Dank, I am too, but you're just Dank. I have both the good and the bad that comes with broadcasting my fluctuating thoughts on the Eagles. I think anybody who's an Eagles fan knows that it fluctuates, you know, day to day, week to week. One day you're like, we're winning a fucking Super Bowl. One day you're like, fire everybody and restart. That's kind of life as an Eagles fan. You know, I broadcast every day. So fortunately, I'm able to do that. Unfortunately, you guys are able to ride with me on that wave, okay? You guys ride with me on that wave. A lot of people who criticize me, they all think the same things, but they just don't broadcast it every day, so nobody knows. All right. Here's Arthur. We're going to kick off the comeback on Sunday. Arthur, from your lips to God's ears, hopefully. Dirty Air, what's up, brother? Hope you're doing well. He says, I have some hope about this team. Me too, still. The NFL as a whole doesn't have great teams this year. This time last year is when we got rolling. Next 2 games will show a lot of who we really are. I think it's the next 4 games, Dirty Air. You got 2 before the bye, and then you have 2 tough opponents after the bye week. If you can't hang in the room with those 2 opponents after the bye week, I think we're going to have big issues. You know, I'm not saying you have to win those games, but you got to show that you can contend with them. All right? You got to show you can hang with the Lions and the Packers. If you can't, oof, you're right. It's going to get ugly. All right. If the Eagles go on a 5-game losing streak, are you starting Tanner week 11? 5-game losing streak? That's what? Lost this week, swept by the Giants next week, and then losing to we have the Packers first, right? Packers, then Lions, then Bears, I think it is. I got to print out a schedule and put it right next to my thing. I don't know why I haven't done that yet. Yeah, you have Packers after the bye week. Then you have Lions, Cowboys, Bears, Chargers. Ugh. That's a gauntlet a little bit, guys. Yo, Z, you think they up the RPO usage this week? Jason, I'm wondering what they do to try and get the offense going, all right? I'm wondering if they do kind of use more of that. I almost hope they do, because if the running game can't get going because the offensive line can't get going, you got to do something different. And obviously, Jalen's not meant to be a pocket, drop back passer every single day, every single play. So what do you do to try and get the offense going? Maybe RPO is something they rely on more, Chasing. We will see, my friend. JD3, get off chicken tenders and fries, little bro. JD3, when I was a kid, I never got chicken tenders and fries. Wasn't my order. All right? Wasn't my order. Dirty Air, thanks for the super. Terrence, thanks for the super. Thanks, everybody, for all the super chats today. Who after the bye? Kibo, after the bye, we have Packers November 10th. That's I want to say, is that a Monday night game? Eagles-Packers is Monday Night Football? November 10th. I think that's Monday night. Jason, I'm not ignoring you. Did I miss a chat? I'll get to it, brother. Holy shit, Jason. Don't you go emotional buttercup on me now. Jason, don't tell me you're talking to me and you're going buttercup. I know, you're talking to somebody in the chat. All right, I got you. I thought you were going butterball on me, Jason. I thought you were going butterball with me. I knew it, Flex. I knew you were. I knew you still ordered off the kids' menu. Flexen goes to Prime Steakhouse, and he gets the tenders and fries. Flex, I love you, brother. You know it's all love. You know it's all love, Flex. I still like tenders and fries. Fuck what Z talking about. I got you, brother. I got you, Flex. I'll eat tenders and fries, but yeah, look, Xander didn't eat tenders. He ate breaded chicken medallions made by a personal chef. My mom is a personal chef. I will say that. You want to talk about privilege? I got my mom is 100% Italian. Her grandparents are right off the boat from Italy, first generation immigrants. All right. They started an Italian restaurant. We've talked about this before in Glenside. Okay. And my mom can cook. My mom can flat out cook, man. My mom can cook with the best of them. I'm telling you right now, my mom could start a restaurant easily or start a little shack that serves one dish anywhere, and she would be successful. I tell her, I don't know why you don't do that sometimes. She's an incredible cook, my mother. Incredible cook. I didn't know there were wise guys in Glenside. That's where my grandparents were, man. First generation immigrants. Grandma grew up Easton Road, baby, right off Easton Road, right outside of Keswick. Right outside of Keswick. Jason, do it, brother. You can cook? JD3. Give me tenders with some Frank's hot sauce on my final meal. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. All right. I'm not too bougie for them. It's just it's not a developed taste bud meal, Flexion. I mean, if you're trying to Raising Cane's tenders are cracked. Jason or Flex, I ever tell you the story about Raising Cane's with me? I was a freshman at the University of Alabama. And in Alabama, you have it's like built into the tuition. There's like X amount of dining dollars you get that are like, it's not free money because it's in tuition, but when you're a student and you don't have money in your checking account, you use dining dollars to eat because it's built into your tuition. So I had a Raising Cane's in the floor of my freshman dorm. On the floor of my freshman dorm. Well, me and my buddy Chuck, who's been my best friend my whole life. He was my best friend in high school, went to college together. We were roommates all 3 years I was at Bama. I'm still great friends with him to this day. He lives in the area still. Grew up here. Chuck, and I love Chuck. You guys would love Chuck. He's a classic dude. Literally as funny as it gets. But we would stumble our ass home, man. 1 a.m, we would stumble fucking home to the freshman dorm. And we would walk in there. We'd get the full caniac, extra cane sauce. You got to get extra cane sauce with the Texas toast and the crinkle fries. And we would hobble back up to our room and just stuff our faces with Raising Cane's till 2 a.m. And then we would pass out. Good times, man. Good times. And you could use dining dollars, so you didn't even need to have cash in your pocket or in your account for that matter. All right. Now I had cash in my account because I worked at the bars between summers. I was a bar back and then I was a bartender for a little bit, only for like a month or two, but mostly a bar back. So I worked my ass off in the summers to try and make some money so I could have some spending cash at college. But dining dollars, Raising Cane's, full caniac meal, done and dusted, baby. It's good stuff. Crinkle fries, hella overrated. And it's what it is. People like what they like. Raising Cane's overrated. No seasoning. Dave Hots or Slim Chicken. Well, you're down in Texas, so nothing's seasoned enough for Texans. Zaxby's is good. Zaxby's is probably better. All right. I agree. But that's funny. Barback? You know what a barback is? Barback keeps the bar stocked, brother. Yeah, bartender who makes the drinks. Bar back, make sure they got liquor. Make sure they got kegs. Make sure they got ice. Make sure they got everything. Their cups are clean. Come on, man. You know what a bar back is? I love being a bar back, dude. I was such a good bar back. I'm not going to I'm going to toot my own horn, I guess, here for a second. I fucking loved being a bar back. I loved it, man. Carrying the keg, fast paced, get the brew, work until 2 a.m. If you get in a good bar, a fast-paced bar, the bar I worked at had 5 different bars, different spots of the area, different. That was fun. All right. Chester says there's a new Raising Cane's opening. Ooh. You should do a JAKIB cooking show with Mama Kraus. My mom would be great on camera. She would. Stevie Bartholomew, that's a hilarious comment, but I won't pull it up on the screen. That's funny. When did we switch to man versus food? That's funny, Theo. Wait, I want to show you guys something. All right, where is that Philly guy in here who was chirping at me earlier? He's always chirping at me, telling me to come back to the middle. Original Philly, are you in here? Original Philly, are you out there? Let's get back to some football. Let's get back to some football. Original Philly, are you out there? He's here. All right, Nimrod, listen up. I'm saying that jokingly. You're not an actual Nimrod. There are some people in here who are actual Nimrods. You're not a Nimrod. Come back to the center of the room. All right, let me show you something. Special K, when was I at Bama? When Jalen Hurts was a freshman, I was a freshman. So 2016, I think it was. Yeah, graduated. Yeah, 2016, 2017, 2018. 2016, 2017, 2018. That's when I was at Bama. All right, here we go. This is the spot track guy. September 25th, 2025. 2025 NFL most expensive offenses. Eagles, $245 million. 30th in the NFL. Yeah, I've been to Rounders. Oh, fuck Rounders. $245 million on the Eagles offense. 30th in the NFL. 240, I'll say it one more time. $245 million offense. 30th in the NFL. Now you're looking at cap. You're looking at cap. Howie will always manipulate the cap. And then you go to defenses. Broncos, Steelers. How about that? That Steelers defense is the second highest defense in the NFL. They looked like dog shit last night. All right, here we go. 2025 least expensive defenses. Top of the road. Eagles, $45 million defense. $45 million defense. The cheapest defense in football. The cheapest defense in football. Yeah, dang, I know cap counts more, but this is an indication of how much you're paying guys. I get the cap amount counts more for constructing a roster. No, this is just this is the annual salaries of the players. It's just an indication of everybody on our offense is paid. It's not a cap is obviously a better indication of roster building, things like that. $45 million defense, $245 million offense. All right. If anybody thinks the offense is performing up to standard, I don't know. You got to go and get your eyes checked. You got to have a come to Jesus conversation about being objective in some realms. I mean, seriously, what do you guys think the Eagles front office is thinking? Do you think they know that they spend the most on offense and they know and it's the 30th offense in football? Do you think that the Eagles front office never talks about that? Do you think they just, nah, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Really? Do you I'm telling you right now that this front office talks about it. They think about it, they talk about it, they figure out ways that they can get better. I think Lurie thinks about it. Yeah, oh yeah, you can say that again, my friend. You know, there's a very simple concept in business. It's called ROI. Return on investment. Highest paid offense, third worst in the league. Highest paid offense, third worst in the league. That's like me showing up to a drag strip in my Corvette and losing to a $10,000 Honda. I'm not going to be happy. Hey, what the fuck? I'm not getting what I paid for here. Oh, man. Larry's got to be pissed. Sean says, yeah, Xander, go watch Jalen Hurts' rookie and second season. He was running different and passing the ball pretty well. I have to give him credit there. Well, Sean, very different offenses, all right? Very different offenses. Drag strip, original Philly. It's racing the car, dude. You got Diddy on your mind. You got Diddy on your mind. Well, it's because they ran RPOs. That's because they ran RPOs. You know? They ran RPOs. So it's asking Hurts at the line of scrimmage to do much different. When you don't have the RPO, the post-snap reading comes into play a lot more. Jalen struggles with that. He does. He's been struggling with that this year. More than I've seen him struggle with it in the past a little bit. All right. 4 for 4 is about to grab the baby oil. Come on, no baby oil here, all right? No baby oil. But the RPO is, it's a little different. It doesn't require as much post-snap reading. Oh, no, Xander, that Seahawks offense with Sam is on the least list, and look how much better they are. Oh, my gosh, don't tell me that. Offenses. Oh, man. One of the cheapest offenses in football is the Seahawks. Oh, man. Curtis. Don't say it, Curtis. Jackson Smith and Jigba. That dude can play. All right. That dude, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he can flat out play. He might be one of the better of the Ohio State receivers in the league. Probably the best, maybe. Then you got Garrett Wilson, you got Olave, you got Marvin Harrison, you got who else Ohio State receiver that I'm missing? You obviously have Jeremiah Smith coming up. He's insane, by the way. Jeremiah Smith is nuts. That kid's a generational talent. JSN, go Buckeyes. Yeah, he's a good player. He's probably the best Ohio State receiver in the league right now. What was the final poll result? It was like 58% Jalen, 50 or 42% coaches, or whatever it was. I don't know if I can go back and look at it. So Spencer says, I think a lot of people are losing patience with Jalen. Dude, 6 years in and still doesn't read the field quickly. He's got to step up or get rid of him. Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. I mean, Jalen deserves credit because it's not an effort thing or a workout. I had some guy, mention him or DMing me last night, and he's like, it makes me wonder what Jalen does in the offseason. And I'm like, I don't think it's that, dude. I don't think Jalen Hurts isn't working his ass off. I really don't. All right, I'm always honest. I try and always be. I don't think it has anything to do with his work ethic. I think sometimes, because we're talking about professional football here, it's a very hard thing to do. It is. Now, when you're in the NFL, you're expected to be able to do it. I understand that. And when you're making $51 million as a quarterback, you're expected to do it. Okay? And when you have assets everywhere and great receivers and great running game and great offensive line and a great tight end, you're expected to do it. I'm just saying, you know how hard it is to diagnose a defense in the moment, in split second. You got 2.5 seconds. You got to figure out what coverage they're in, what they drop into, where to go with the football, where the seam is, where the opening is. It's a lot to do. It's a very hard thing to do. You're expected to do it when you're an NFL quarterback, and I think you're right to expect him to do that. It's a very hard thing to do. So. Jeremiah Smith was supposed to come to Mizzou. Still not over. Yeah, maybe you would have won last week. Mad Dio, gift 5 memberships. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Who gets gifted? Who got a gift? Twiz got a gift. Twiz is a member on the site. Twiz is not a Dusty Gray. Twiz is not a Dusty Gray. Dio, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Let me pull out some sound bites. Thank you, Dio. Thank you, Dio. Appreciate it, brother. Xander, look where Seattle is on the least paid offenses. How much better are they? It hurts. No pun intended. Oh, sheesh. I tell you what, guys. I know that everybody's not going to love this comment, but isn't it sometimes painful turning on the Thursday night game last night and you watch Joe Flacco, who's been there for 10 fucking days, and he makes getting the ball to Jamar Chase look like it's a handoff. Like it's running a running play. 23 targets, 16 catches for Jamar Chase. They've been together 10 days. 10 days they've been together. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown have been together for 4 years. This is their 4th season together, guys. 4th. Not 2nd and 3rd anymore. 4th. We're going into like A.J. Brown's been here a while now. 4th season together. I thought it was 23 targets. Was it 18 targets? I thought it was 23 targets. Let me look it up. Let me look it up. Was it 23? Yeah, I thought it was 23. Jamar Chase had 16 receptions on 23 targets. 10 targets for T. Higgins. I mean, we're all leaving out T. Higgins. How about 6 for 96 and a tutty for T. Higgins? I mean, everybody was involved. It's not just Jamar. Josephus had 49 yards. Fant had 44 yards. Feels like our leading receiver every week has 45 yards. Brutal. Sorry, but it is what it is. I mean, you can justify it any way you'd like. I understand Jalen Hurts is not a progression pocket passer, but it's brutal. It's brutal that Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown have been together for 4 years. And, the thing that bothers me sometimes about the Jalen conversation is, like, you got to be consistent, guys. If you're in the chat and you're a Hurts defender, I'm not mad at you. I'm good with you defending Hurts. I really am. Okay? I promise. I don't dislike you. I don't hate you. I think you're perfectly fine to come up here and say, Zander, shut the fuck up. You've been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Jalen's that guy. But if you're going to say that and you're going to call him an elite player and an elite quarterback, at what point do we hold him to elite standards? Right? Like, don't we have to be consistent? Don't we have to be consistent that if Jalen is going to be talked about as a top 5 and as an elite quarterback and as a guy that lifts up this organization and this team and leads us to Super Bowls, don't you have to hold him to a higher standard? We have the 30th offense in football. We can barely get the ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. We need better from the elite quarterback. Philly, very simple. Why was the O-line better? The O-line was better. Why? Philly, why? Come on, you know this answer. Why was the O-line better last night? Why was the O-line better last night? The O-line was better because Flacco got rid of the football. Jalen doesn't get rid of the football quick. It makes our O-line look worse. I know people don't want to admit that, and people just want to say it's all offensive line problems. It's not. It's not only Jalen problems. It's not. It's both. But it's not only O-line. I promise you it's not only O-line. That O-line in Cincinnati stinks. You get the ball out in 2 seconds, 2.2 seconds, no issues. 2.4 seconds, whatever it was last night. And Jalen, I love these comments. Jalen back there doing his taxes. Here's Philip. Philip, what's up, brother? Thank you for the super chat, my man. I appreciate it. All right. Love the channel, but you got to chill on Jalen. Brought us a Super Bowl. You can talk about the D and the O-line all you want, but at the end of the day, 2 bowls in 3 years. Dude, winning a Super Bowl, Philip, is a team thing. It's a team thing. Jalen deserves credit for it, absolutely. But to sit here and act like the 2 Super Bowls in 3 years is only a Jalen. Say the same thing about the O-line, Philip. Why do you criticize the O-line? They got the 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Why do you criticize the defense? They got us to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Why do you criticize A.J. Brown? He got us to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Why do you criticize Nick Sirianni? He got us to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Why do you criticize Saquon Barkley? He got us to 1 Super Bowl in 1 year. It applies to everybody. Individual performances are not always indicative of what the team is doing. Going to the Super Bowl does not mean that Jalen Hurts is above all criticism or conversation. Winning the Super Bowl is a team accomplishment. Jalen was a big part of it. I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm just saying if you're going to use that, then hold it. Just keep the same energy for the O-line and the D-line. Why are you okay? Philip, let's try and be objective for a second. Why are you okay with me criticizing the offensive line and the defensive line, but you're not okay with me criticizing the quarterback? The offensive line has been better for this team for longer than Jalen has. The offensive line's been good for a decade. So if I'm supposed to just give Hurts the benefit of the doubt every single week, well, why aren't you giving the offensive line the benefit of the doubt, Philip? Why aren't you giving the offensive line the benefit of the doubt? You know, it doesn't make sense. We got to be consistent. We got to try and be consistent. F your feelings. You talking to me now, Philip? You sent me $10 and then you're saying, call me a boy? Shut up, Philip. Bitch ass. What'd you do? What'd you do, Philip? You sent me $10 so that you could try and shut me up? Is that what that was, or are you talking to somebody else? People are weird. Thanks for the $10. It is what it is. Shitty comment, but did I say fuck your feeling? What's this guy talking about? He must be talking about someone in the chat. Okay, he's talking to someone in the chat. I got you. I'm not bullying him. Relax. I think it's a fine comment. I'm just telling him we got to be consistent. As a fan base, we got to be consistent. I don't think Philip was coming at me. He complimented the channel. I think Philip was being fine. Sometimes it's hard because I read the chat and then I miss some chats and then I see the new chat and then I'm yelling at somebody and then they're yelling at somebody in the chat. We got a lot of pot stirrers in the chat, which is a good thing. But got you, Philip. You're good, brother. So no, I mean, look, I just think we got to be consistent with it all. You know, I'm not saying that Jalen's the only problem. I'm just saying I don't think he's above reproach. I don't think he's above criticism. And I don't think the offense being 30th in the NFL has nothing to do with him. I don't. I know people love to blame play callers. I get it. But at the end of the day, man, the same people say, hey, quarterback, they give the quarterback credit for checking into a play, right? You're going to give the quarterback credit for checking into a play, then why are you putting it all on the play caller? The quarterback can check in any play he wants, right? The quarterback has autonomy at the line of scrimmage, right? Flacco is a drop-back pro quarterback. Jalen is not that. I understand that, Mr. Jeezy, and I'm not trying to turn him into something he's not. But at some point, mister, you got to look at the way we're built, and you got to look at the deficiencies of the team, and you have to analyze it properly. Why, if this is the comment, and look, I agree. But if Jalen's not going to ever use them, like why do we pay 2 receivers to be what they are? Why don't we just get some great blocker receivers who can, catch 600 to 800 yards a year, and go that route? Why don't we do that then? Why don't we, get some blocking tight ends? Why don't we load up, get some fullbacks, load up in the I formation and run the football? Load up an extra offensive lineman onto the field and play bully ball. If he's not that, then why do we have our receivers? Just to not use them. I know we used them back in 22 and 23. That's the one thing I have a hard time with. Like, we did use them. Island Ultra says BVS got hurt. Island, appreciate the comment, and you're right. And maybe that shifted some things. But here's the problem. If you're telling me this $245 million offense that has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon, I don't need to run through all the names for you, okay? If you're going to get that thrown off from losing Ben Van Sumeren, then your offense was never good to begin with. Angela says this can't keep going on. Oh, the wide receivers probably already won out. You got to be honest with ourselves. I know we care more about the team, as we should. Receivers are receivers. Calvin Johnson is a Hall of Famer without a win because he was a dominant receiver. Jerry Rice got the football with Joe Cool. I brought this point up yesterday. We don't even know what A.J. Brown can be. Would we even know? Would Jerry Rice have been as dominant if he got drafted to a different team and didn't play with Joe Montana? We might have fucking Joe Montana and A.J. Brown. We don't use them, though. We don't use them. Or not Joe Montana. Jerry Rice. You know what I mean. We don't use them. Like, we don't even know what our receivers are capable of. I had my boy Alfredo DMing me last night. He's like, Devontae too. What could he be? I'm like, it's a good point. I don't know. Devontae could be dominant. I saw somebody post up a clip of AJ or Devontae Smith compared to Ocho Cinco. They do play similar. It was a good comp. I don't know, man. These receivers are going to be done with it eventually. Lockhart, what's up, brother? We don't know what he truly is because his coach treats him like he should be locked in a room playing with blocks and Play-Doh. Nick needs more blame. Lockhart, what do you mean? Are you talking about Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown? Are you talking about A.J. Brown or Jalen Hurts here? Nick deserves some blame, but at the end of the day, dude, I mean, Nick had Nick has built an offense for this team. So again, if you're going to be a Hurts lover, which I like Jalen Hurts. I've been a team Jalen guy. I defended him. I put him in my top 5 every week, much to Curtis's chagrin. He didn't like it. Maybe Curtis was the right one, but I've been a Hurts guy. But, like, eventually, I don't think you can blame it all on Nick Sirianni. I don't. Do you think the dude in Cincinnati does it? I mean, Zach Taylor or what the fuck his name is? Who's calling that offense? Dan Pitcher is the Bengals offensive coordinator. We literally have A.J. Brown just in case we need him. That's like literally what it is, Ryan. And people are telling me I should be okay with that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense unless you have a dominant running game and you can make up for it. Angelo says we have 2 elite wideouts. Look at the other teams that have 2 elite wide receivers. They throw the ball. The Eagles don't. I know that's not news. Yeah, Angelo, you're right. By the way, we used to say this. Let's do a quick little game here. Who are the top 3 wide receiver tandems in pro football? Because I used to think the Eagles, AJ and Devontae were the best tandem. I used to say they were the number 1. Who are the best wide receiver tandem? Put your top 3. Who are the top wide receiver tandems in pro football? You probably have Cincinnati. You probably have LA Rams are in there with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. You probably have the Bucs are pretty good now with Emeka Ibuka and Mike Evans. You probably have who am I missing? You probably have the Cowboys have CD and Pickens. All right, you have Dallas. You have the Eagles. All right, with Smitty and AJ. You have Detroit with J-Mo and Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have who else? Vikings. Obviously, they're one of the best. Minnesota. You have Minnesota, Addison and Justin Jefferson. Ryan says Wandale Robinson and Lil Jordan Humphrey. Oh, no. Tampa Bay, I put. Who we missing, guys? Adams and Nakua, I put them at 2. Dolphins is decent with but again, like, guys, that's 8 teams listed out with elite duo, with an elite wide receiver duo. Like, guys, we're not the only one anymore. Like, we're not the top team with the wide receiver duo. We're not. We're not the top team with a wide receiver duo. And we don't use our wide receivers. Like, I hate to say this. People aren't going to want to hear this. But if you're going off of production, and this is why AJ and Devontae are pissed. Cincinnati's better. Rams receivers are better. Bucs receivers are better. Dallas receivers are better. Detroit's receivers are better. Minnesota's receivers are better. And hell, Miami's receivers might be better. Think about that. Frosty, thank you. Seattle. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp. Like, dude, there's a lot of freaking wide receiver duos in the league now. It used to be, hey, we're the only one. Or, hey, we got one of the best. Us in the Cincinnati. Not that anymore. The league is changing. Chargers, Jason Higgins, I have them number 1. I got them 1, Daz. I got them 1. KC, you got Rice, you got Worthy, and they got Hollywood Brown. I like them. I'm not putting them in the top, though. You would take Ladd over Smitty? I don't think I would take Ladd over Smitty. We don't use Smitty, dude. He's got Justin Herbert. Put DeVonta Smith with Justin Herbert. Watch what he does. You know? Here's Walkart. Zander, it's not about being a Hurts lover. Nick is stubborn and averse to change. He's shown that and almost was fired because of that. He was in the hot seat for a reason. Walkart, do you just put – all right, fine. Do you put nothing then on Jalen? Like, this is where I can't reason with some of these people. Like, do you have nothing on the quarterback? Do you believe that this offense being 30th overall has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts? M. Reyes, you answer too, please. M. Reyes, I want to see how real you are. Do you put none of it on the quarterback? Like 0%? What percent on the quarterback? Yeah, I agree. Ladd is not DeVonta Smith, but I digress. Here's Philip. Philip, sorry I missed the super chat. Agree with you, Z. I wasn't coming at you. I'm a Jalen supporter. However, I know QB1 needs to be better. What I'm saying is we should put him in an offense he can be good in. Well, that's fair, Philip. I don't disagree with that at all. All right, I don't disagree with that at all. 10% or less. See, like, I'm sorry, but that's delusion land. That's delusion land. That's delusion land. 100% delusion land. Bryce, I love you, but it's fine. You're openly delusional. You tell people you're delusional, so it's okay. I don't think Minnesota is the top receiving group. I got Cincinnati as my top. I got Cincinnati, Minnesota, LA, Dallas, probably 4. Probably 5 would be Detroit. 6 would be probably Seattle. 7 would probably be Eagles. Did I put the Bucs in there? Okay, Rice. So good to know. Your quarterback, who you say is elite, and you say is top 5, needs the best O-line in football, or else he stinks. Is that what you're telling me? The blame is the trenches. Okay, so the Bengals' offensive line fucking stinks. They're paper mache. They have no problem getting their receivers the football. So the quarterback that you say is elite, that's what you tell me, Reyes. He's one of the best quarterbacks in pro football. He can't thrive at all if the offensive line's not the best in football. Money Mitch says, Z, we can't run the ball. All right, so Money Mitch, last year we could run the ball. What did that do for the passing offense? Because somebody tweeted me this last night. If we ran the ball, the offense would be good. The running offense would be good. The running offense was great last year. The passing offense was 31st in pro football with a historic run game. So are we under the impression, Money Mitch, that if they had a better running game, the offense would pass the ball better? Because I've seen no evidence of that. Oh my gosh. Reyes, you're telling me this offensive line isn't functional? You're fucking delusional. Functional? Are you telling me seriously the offensive line's not functional? It's not functional. That's the word you just used. Reyes, stop, dude. Stop. I appreciate your shtick, but be fucking real. That is such a ridiculous fucking comment. It doesn't even deserve to be on the screen. That is insane commentary. That is legitimately batshit crazy commentary. Functional. They're not functional? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Holy shit. What a stupid comment. What a stupid comment. Very stupid commentary. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're becoming, Dad. We're like Cowboys. Eagles, a lot of Eagles fans are becoming like Cowboys fans. You don't want to hear that. It's the truth. The Cowboys lose and stink, and everybody's like, oh, you guys are Dak Prescott. Mark Holmes is a Dak Prescott lover. Same thing. 30th offense in pro football. 2 straight losses to the Giants and the Broncos. M. Reyes has every excuse in the book for Jalen Hurts. Cowboys. That's a Cowboy fan. It makes sense. You're in Texas, Reyes. You learn from them. You live in Texas. I don't even know if you were ever in Philly. Right? Theodore says a generation. What do you mean a generation thing, Theo? What am I? What? I'm born in 1998. What would I be? What generation am I? Am I a millennial? Am I a millennial if I'm 1998? What does that make me? Am I the end of the millennials? Am I Gen Z? What am I? I'm on the cusp of 2 generations, it says. Millennials, Generation Y, or the first year Gen Z. Yeah, I'm 98. I'm in the middle, I guess. I don't think it's a generational thing. I think there's plenty of people who can be objective about some things. I don't think it should be that hard to be objective. I really don't. Yeah, I'm the same age as Jalen. I told you we were both freshmen at Alabama together. I told you the great story from Jalen Hurts on college campus. He was a freshman. He was a freshman on the college campus. He had just started his first game, which was a surprise, in Dallas, in Jerry's World versus USC. I think we won that game 52-6. I was at the game in Jerry's World. Ready? That was Jalen Hurts' first start. Where is Jerry's World? Arlington? Yep. There's your boy, Big Z, at Jerry's World. AT&T Stadium, September 3rd, 2016. There's your boy, Big Z, in an Alabama jersey, number 15. Okay? Jalen Hurts on campus that week, after that game where he beat USC 52-6, was on campus. There was people playing football on campus, like just students, not players, obviously. They tossed Jalen Hurts a football, and it was really dope. I was right there. Jalen took the ball and said, go deep. And the kid on campus goes deep, and Jalen throws him a bomb on campus in the middle of the whatever it's called. I forget what it's called. The center of the campus. I got great stories from my time in Alabama with Jalen Hurts. All right. He was an awesome quarterback. I'm not denying, though, where he is. I'm Gen Z by a year. Is that right? So, Jerry's World's pretty sick. I'll give credit for that. All right. Angelo, it has nothing to do with it. Brad says, go Cowboys. Well, Brad, we're going to play you again soon after the bye week. Yeah, it was really dope, Brian. By all accounts, Jalen Hurts is an awesome dude, but he's got to be better on the field. That's what ChatGPT says. ChatGPT is never wrong. Classic. That's classic. All right. I think I'm a millennial. Let's go with I'm a millennial. I don't like Gen Z. That sounds goofy. I don't think I'm like a Gen Z guy. All right. Here's Texas T. Texas T says, if we were to go out and get a top-level OC next year, what would they be able to install their offense and still have to run Sirianni? Do you think Jalen is the reason the offense isn't creative? I do, Texas T, because the evidence points to that. The evidence points to that because you had Kellen Moore, who was responsible for 2 number 1 offenses in pro football with the Dallas Cowboys and with Dak Prescott. They threw the ball everywhere. Motion and routes and crossing routes and underneaths and drags and slants and goes and hitches and curls. You name it. They had it. He did the same thing in LA with Justin Herbert. And then he came to Philly and we have the 31st ranked passing offense in football. So there's 2 things that are possible. Ready? Kellen Moore designed the offense for the quarterback last year, or Kellen Moore became stupid and couldn't get together the passing game in 1 year. I don't think Kellen Moore became a dumbass. And by the way, now he's throwing the ball over the yard with the Saints. So I'm just saying, what is the logical conclusion, guys? What is the logical conclusion of a passing coordinator who has 2 number 1 passing offenses in pro football, twice on his resume, who comes to Philadelphia and has another very low quality, low volume, uncreative passing game? There's only one logical conclusion. Either Kellen Moore got dementia and lost it and stinks all of a sudden, or he built the offense to the quarterback skill sets. I think the logical conclusion is slapping us in the face. Here's Mason. Xander, just admit you hate Hurts. He's not a prototypical quarterback and you can't handle it. I'm not going to admit I hate Hurts because I don't hate Hurts. The quarterback has to be better. We're the 30th offense in pro football, and the offense is one of the highest paid offenses in pro football. We have great receivers. We have a great running back. We have a great offensive line. We have 2 great tackles. We have 1 great guard. We have a great tight end. If you right now, guys, if you could trade, if you could do anything, if you had Madden, you can go in your Madden setting. I don't play Madden anymore, but I used to. And you could turn off the trade thing where any trade will go through. You could do that on Madden. If you could do that right now, any trade would go through. Any trade in the world would go through right now. You wouldn't add to the offense. There's nowhere to add. I can't make my wide receiver 1 or 2 better. Well, I guess you could maybe if you go to Jamar Chase. Tight ends top 7. Probably wouldn't improve that. Running backs top 3. Offensive line, I guess maybe you could say I'd rather improve a guard position. Tackle, I'm not trading to improve Lane Johnson. I'm not trading to improve Jordan Mailata. You can't improve the offense anymore. The offense is at max capacity, and you cannot improve it anymore. You can't. There's nowhere to improve. There is no spot on the field where you're like, that's got to be upgraded. See that there on the offense? We got to be better there. I'm not a Hurts hater at all. That's a stupid comment. If you think I am, you're just I'm not a non-objective, stupid person, which there are plenty of those out there. Xander the Hurts hater. That's what they're going to call me now. Any objective conversation on the football team. Marcus says, where's my lot been? I mean, he didn't have a great game, but his his left guard has gone to shit. And he's still one of the highest graded tackles in football. So he's certainly not the issue. Yeah, Hurts hater, Hurts criticism, tomato. So true, Theo. So true. Now, Mason said, I got you. I love you, Xander. So you were trying to get me. You baited me and you won. Sometimes you got to get me worked up. I get it. Philly Don. Thanks, Captain Obvious. Philly Don, I love you, but holy shit. Philly Don says, I would trade for Burrow. Yeah, I think everybody would, Philly Don. Although he can't stay upright. Maybe is that because the Bengals O-line, though? We beating them damn Vikings. Maybe, Marcus. We got to see. Money Mitch says, Z, teams are getting 5 yards of carry, controlling the clock. It's killing us more than Hurts in the passing game. Money Mitch. No, it's not, dude. No, it's not. Money Mitch. Why do you think they're getting 5 yards of carry? Money Mitch, let's dissect your comment. What do you think is helping teams get 5 yards of carry at will on our defensive line? Do you think the highest 3-and-out rate in football, which is owned by the Philadelphia Eagles, do you think that has anything to do with the defense that's getting tired? That can't stop the run? Our defensive line is getting pushed back because the offense can't stay on the field. Dude, if you can't get first downs, your defense is going to be gashed. There's not a defense in pro football that can handle offense going 3 and out at a near 50% clip. We were 1 for 9 on third down last week. 1 for 9. Now, I'm not against you in saying the defense could be better. I'm just saying it's not the number one issue. And to say it's killing us more than Hurts is wrong. Not Hurts. It's the offense as a whole. Wherever you want to put it. I don't really care. It's not, I agree, it's not all on the quarterback. But there is a lot of it on the quarterback, Marcus. Again, Marcus, do you think he's elite? Do you think he's top 5? Do you think he elevates the team? Do you think he has autonomy at the line of scrimmage? Do you give him credit for the Saquon wheel route? If you give him credit for all those things, if you talk about all those things, you have to hold him to that standard. Be consistent. Is he top 5 or is he not? Top 5 quarterbacks elevate everybody around him. Joe Burrow led one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen to the Super Bowl. And Landon Dickerson gets a boo-boo, and everyone's like, okay, that's perfect justification to be the 30th offensive in football. I mean, that's Reyes. Seriously. Landon's got a boo-boo. And now it's like, okay, nope, Jalen should stink. How can you not stink? Because Landon got a boo-boo. Everybody would stink. No, bullshit. Money Mitch says, I got to look at the time of possession. I'm watching the Broncos and Giants have the game-killing drives that eat up 7-8 minutes. We can't give those up. Money, it's because they're coming after the offense can't move the ball. Go look at the 4. Go look. We had 6 offensive drives, Money, in the second half versus the Giants. 6 offensive drives, okay? Go and look at them. Go and watch the way they went. And then tell me if the defense wasn't gashed by the time they gave up the final 7-8 minute drive. Reyes, I'm not supporting your case because on one hand, you say the quarterback is elite, and on the other hand, you say he can't overcome that said boo-boo you're talking about. Reyes, that's not elite. That's middle of the pack. Adjust your expectations or acknowledge where you were wrong and stop acting like you sit on a high horse above everybody, because you don't, and your takes are not always correct, and you're not making 100% sense right now. Stop acting like you are, Reyes. And stupid. The shtick isn't even funny. We're having a real conversation about football. Either partake in it or get lost. JD3 says, people sound dumb. That's Nick's call. You really think a wide receiver coach wants to knock at his wide receivers the ball? You think you don't want to throw over the middle? Just go watch Indianapolis. They threw over the middle every day, damn near every play. All right. Walkart says, that's Nick's call, though. It's been his call since he's arrived, and he's never given him a chance to do anything else. That's my entire point. Let him grow. Well, I don't disagree that they should give him more room to grow. More room to blow, I said. Oof. More room to grow. I do agree with that. Have they given it to some extent and it hasn't worked out? I don't know. All right, I'm getting out of here. Love all you guys. Appreciate all you guys. Reyes, come back to earth before I talk to you anymore. You're bothering me. All right, we got to be objective. Please, if you're going to talk football, then let's be honest. Tell me I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I always will. Certainly if I feel like I'm proven wrong. I have no problem saying when I'm wrong. I'm going to be wrong probably more than I'm going to be right. It's the nature of talking about football every day. And I will admit it. But to sit here and say that the offense is inept because Landon Dickerson has a boo-boo is stupid. It's stupid. Texas T, that's a $1 million question right there. I think it's because the RPOs and we got rid of them. RPOs require the quarterback to have way different pre-snap, post-snap reads. Way different. Way different. You don't play the RPO, you got way different post-snap process. A lot harder. So it is what it is. Love all you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you guys, including you, Reyes, including everybody. Appreciate all the super chats today. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for all supporting. We'll have a 2 to 6 National Football Show today. Okay. The pre and post game show will be on Sunday. It's a 1 p.m. game. It's on Fox. All right. 4-2 Eagles versus the 3-2 Minnesota Vikings. Let's see how it happens. Love all you guys. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.